Perfect. Just
Hey,
perfect.
comrades, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Obnoxious Anarchist. Joining us today, we have a longtime supporter of the channel, Mr. SensiSnax. SensiSnax, how you doing today?
Oh, doing wonderful. How are you today?
I can't complain, fuck, after this whole little debacle that we had over here, but it's all good. It was my fault. I thought it was your mic that was fucked up, but it was my settings that were messed up.
It happens.
Yeah. So that's it. Anyways, today we're going to be talking, as the title suggests, of course, a little bit about anarchism, a little bit about guns, a little bit about cannabis, organic growing, but I don't have anything like too formally set out or anything. It's just good to honestly have a conversation with you. It's been like we've been wanting to do this for a while. It's good to see you and shit. So yeah, just feel free to introduce yourself a little bit, some kind of things that you're doing these days and whatnot. Yeah, just feel free.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm Mr. Sensi Snacks. Some people may know me as the Skinhead Gourmet from my terrible cooking show on YouTube.
Hey, it's not that
Um,
bad. Come on.
well, it was zero budget, and it is what it is. But long time anarchist, long time anti-racist skinhead. I got shaved in back in '94. Um,
Nice.
yeah, earned my blood laces around '96. I guess for people who don't know the terminology, earning your blood laces, you're allowed to wear red laces in your crew because you spilled blood for the cause, which, in our case, you had to find a neo-Nazi skinhead and make them bleed.
Fuck him up. No problem.
Yeah, some kind of blood flow. And, I grew up in and around Philadelphia where we had, through the '90s, we had terrible problems. I'm real proud to see the generation after me. They just did on July 4th, ran Patriot Front. It was like right after a year of the knife show downtown. Patriot Front's marching, and you just see kids with shirts from that show chasing them right back to them fucking Ryder trucks.
Yeah, it was
But
actually
yeah,
real. It was absolutely beautiful to see. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was fucking
oh, it
fantastic.
was. Yeah, and that's what the '90s were like. You'd go to an Elks Lodge, you'd see 3, 4 guys, there from Keystone State Skinheads, AC Hammer Skins, people from
Hmm.
Panzerfaust Records, trying to recruit, pass out their shitty literature, and people would come up. I'm only but half white, so anything they had to say, it's like, well, shit. So y'all hate me?
Yeah.
I took that personally. But that, and when they would get pissed off and couldn't recruit, they would start fights and basically try to ruin it for everybody. It was just like, well, shit. If you're not going to deal with our fascist bullshit, nobody can have fun. So it radicalized me. Just kind of didn't have a lot of choice in the matter. It's like, well, shit. This is like what I care about, and so these are the assholes ruining it. And then you start learning more about them. And it's like, oh yeah, they're terrible people. We definitely need to stop them.
Yeah, absolutely. By any means necessary, and especially in terms of like where we get into like small spaces, like subculture spaces, when it comes to punks or skinheads and shit. It is easy to get face to face with these dudes and knock them the fuck out, and. Like you were saying in the 90s, it was very similar situation. Let's say in the 2000 late 2000s, early 2010s, it would be the same thing here in Montreal. Like there were some neighborhoods that were just fucking filled with these Nazi skinhead dudes. And what's really good about the new generation is they finally said, you know what, fuck it, and they literally kicked them out of their fucking neighborhoods. And there might be still a few there, but they can't really do much. They can't show their colors publicly. They're not going to be wearing white laces around and shit. These kids will get knocked the fuck out for sure, quick.
Now, well, a lot of them have abandoned the whole skinhead vibe and look. Like it's finally getting reclaimed by people who actually understand the culture. Skinhead culture comes from it's Jamaican music culture in the '60s in the UK. Like it was working class mod kids, black Jamaican kids that got together over the same music, and there may be some problematic elements that happened. I mean, sad to say, but black and white united to get into some anti-Asian racism, which
Of course.
not great, but
Yeah, yeah. You
hey, at
see
least
it.
black and white came together. It's a step.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you can see like in the early days of the skinhead movement where like it was really focused on this like black and white unity, but at the same time like they were extremely racist against Pakistanis, like you said, other types of Asians and shit. So whenever we're talking about a white working class movement, you can bet your ass that there will be elements of racism in there. There's just no getting around it. It's just that we have to be louder, bigger, and stronger so as to reclaim our subcultures. It's super
Well,
important, I think.
Well, yeah, and it's a good militant look, shaved head, steel-toed boots. These are things that made sense to people from the working class. Your head shaved because you're working the docks, you're avoiding getting lice, you're avoiding getting your hair caught up in any kind of industrial machinery. You're into fighting, having hair is going to be a bit of a problem. If somebody can grab that and, control your head. So you're shaving your head, and then you have that militant look about you. Steel-toed boots, I spent over 20 years of my adult life working in kitchens wearing predominantly like steel-toe boots with the heavy waffle soles because it's good foot support, it's good ankle support.
Yeah.
Working in kitchens, you work with a lot of alcoholics and drug addicts because the
For
nature
sure.
of the work will drive you to those things, which is why I don't cook professionally anymore. But I've had more than a few 10-pound cans fall on my feet,
Fuck.
chef's knives. So it's like, at least for me, that all kind of fit. And from there I started, I got into the crappy punk rock anarchism, it's just like, oh yeah, fuck the system, chaos, and all of that. And then you start learning. In Philadelphia, I was lucky. We had great places like the A Space. It was just an anarchist organizing space. And I remember doing things like naloxone passes and getting
Nice.
together, doing food shares and stuff like that. And then you have like Wooden Shoe Books in Philly that was just like a hot spot. You wanted to get into theory, like if you were broke and wanted to learn something, they would make sure you had something substantial to take home with you to read. Which I guess that's where I really learned what anarchism is about. It's mutual aid. It's not about getting a profit for yourself. It's about the profit really is raising up the entirety of your community. That's the
Yeah.
greatest benefit of all.
Absolutely, and I've always viewed anarchism like that as well. Some people might like to liken anarchism to a much more like individualist type of mindset, where it's just so centered on the individual. And maybe like you said, I had those kinds of feelings when I was a young anarchist. The punk rock type of anarchism, where it's like, I'm upset at the world and all of these stuff, fucking things, but I don't really know how to put it into words. So I'm just gonna fuck everything up, like just fuck everything. For me, it was like, anarchism is not left wing; it's no wing. We want to destroy the bird, we want to destroy the plane, but then slowly. But for me, basically, it was a few teachers that were able to introduce me to Marxism and stuff like that. You're lucky that you had that space. What did you say? It was like you said it was just a bookstore, or?
Well, we had a bookstore, Wooden Shoe Books, which was on South Street, which is like it was the subculture hotspot of Philadelphia.
Mhm.
So you had that, had all the cool little punk rock record stores on either like side of it. And then we had A Space out in West Philadelphia, which was an organizing space. You'd have some punk shows here and there, but you'd also see local anarchist groups getting together and doing stuff out there. So it was kind of spread out throughout the city where you had multiple, I guess you had multiple like avenues to pursue. And then,
Yeah.
from there, I got involved with, like in the 90s, I never really heard anybody in the States talking about AFA or anti-fascist action. We
What
had
year was this?
AR,
Sorry.
huh?
What year was this? Sorry.
I want to say from like 94 through 2000, like AFA wasn't, I always remember thinking anti-fascist action was something that happened in Europe where
Hmm.
fascism had happened and they were worried about it. In the US, we had ARA, anti-racist action, because that was something, the US is built on racism.
Yeah.
We've got a whole lot of it. We never thought fascism was a thing till, the Bush presidency. I remember in 2000 getting tear gassed at one of the designated free speech zones
Wow.
at the Republican National Convention in Philly, which it was amazing. Blocks from where we had the Bill of Rights signed. Oh, you've got freedom of speech, but if you take 2 steps out of this designated box, you're going to catch a truncheon to the back of your fucking head. And you're going to get locked up for 48 hours,
Yeah.
which
Well, so much
gave
for a
freedom.
fucking so much for a fucking free speech zone. Eh? Holy shit. I actually, yeah, we had anti-racist action here. Actually, that's how it started off too. A lot of the skinheads were part of anti-racist action, just bopping kids who were being racist at the shows. And yeah, it became AFA a little bit later, but we
Yeah,
always had like a pretty strong Antifa presence here in Montreal, even before the Trump administration, because everybody likes to think that Antifa was born of Trump, that Trump is the only fascist threat in the world. And no, that's not the way it was. There were red and anarchist skinheads promoting anti-fascism for a long time before that. We even have a local graph crew called NTFA, and it's a pretty prominent group. Not all of them are like anti-fascists and shit, but all of them are anti-racists, you know. And it's a pretty good
Oh, right.
graph crew. Yeah, so the culture here, it's institutionalized here. Let's say the anti-fascist. Yeah, damn.
Oh, good hit. Sorry.
It's all
Sorry, I
good. It's all
brought a
good.
little of my work home with me.
Hey, no sweat, no sweat at all. Yeah,
But
but
yeah, so outside of that, yeah, I actually started growing, like getting into organic. Well, I guess, the other aspect of me, the organic gardening, started around the age of 5 or 6. My grandfather was a prodigious gardener. He was actually a chemist for the Stetson hat factory.
wow.
But he had this huge vegetable garden, and part of what he did for work was grow plants for pigments and dyes. So having to bring out the most vibrant color from these plants to process dye out of was kind of what he did. Excuse me. So he taught me how to basically do composting and how to really mineralize the soil to get the best out of your plants. So I've always been kind of gardening, and about 10 years ago or so, my mother had gotten diagnosed with cervical cancer. So
Oh
I
shit.
started buying lots of weed to infuse her food, which is incredibly expensive if you've ever had to process it. So, boy, that's hanging around.
Hey, no sweat. Take your time. Cough it all out.
But what had happened was I started growing here in Nevada. We had a medical patient program where you could get a card, and the only way you could legally get anything was to grow it yourself.
Hmm.
So I started growing.
How long have you been in Nevada for now, if you don't mind?
Geez, it's like my third or fourth time living out here. Yeah, Las Vegas is kind of like herpes. Once you get it in you, you're stuck with it. Yeah, I moved out here, I think, in 2002
Oh shit.
briefly. Went to Chicago, ended up coming back, went out to North Carolina for a while, came back, went back to North Carolina, then left North Carolina for Pennsylvania, ended up in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan for about a month cooking,
Damn.
and then ended up over here. And I think it's been 15 years. Actually, yeah, my timelines are wrong. It was about 13, 14 years ago my mom had her cancer diagnosis.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I ended up getting really into growing about 10 years ago. And what happened basically was I was growing decent weed with the petrochemical based synthetic fertilizers, and started learning that people that did the organic stuff had stuff that tasted better, worked better, and was just a lot easier and cheaper to grow. Actually, my current business partner, Dee, was instrumental in getting me kind of set up on here's how you do compost teas, here's how you get a good microbiome happening in your soil, here's how you and just teaching me the entire idea of you don't feed your plants, you feed the soil, because basically your soil is going to know how to handle your plant much better than you ever will. There's a communication with the fungi and the bacteria with the plant and its root system that we just can't perceive and we'll never know. So if you give the soil the tools it needs, it'll do the work for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
And I kind of had similar growing up. My grandfather was he was a farmer back in Italy. When he came here, we had a backyard. He was doing some growing, but unfortunately, my grandfather was a very hard person to talk to. So in terms of just passing down all that great information of organic soil replenishing and all that, I missed out a lot on that because he's a very bad communicator. He's more like just watch me do it and that's it. So I lost interest. But now I'm getting older and I'm starting to become more and more interested. Bro, I can't even grow my own fucking plants over here. They just keep fucking dying. I'm horrible at it.
man, slide into my Instagram DMs. I'll get you set up. It's really the best place to start is going to be with food scraps.
Yeah. So
You
like
start
yeah.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
compost at home. There's ways you can compost at home with no smell. So it's you're not getting for lack of a better term, which those hot doo-doo smells that a compost pile will give you. You can look at Korean natural farming where they use ferments an all variety of teas that you kind of treat your compost with. It's called Bokashi method, Bokashi.
Wow.
But what you do is you actually get a nice, pleasant, like mildly sweet smell while things break down. You can also use worm bins, which, having live worms in your house is cool. Just when you add life to your house, you really get a benefit from the energy that they kind of, bestow upon you. But they'll
Yeah.
also break down all of your food waste to a point where you're not getting those composting smells. You're not getting the methane release, the hydrogen sulfide, and all the other stinky chemicals that come with that. Instead, you just get something that's very potent. All the nutrients and minerals left in your food basically get recycled, that you're going to take that and then you feed your plants, which feed you, create more waste, and you start getting towards like a closed circle system where what you eat feeds what you grow to feed yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like a symbiosis, right? Which is pretty much what I want to set up. As the years, we don't
Yeah.
have much space. Like I used to have a huge backyard. We were living in like a commune space with like 8 other people, and like, yeah, they built like a compost bin and everything. It was going well, but I had to leave. So now we just have like a small deck space. I don't. Do you grow like plants at your place, like food, or are you just focusing on
um
cannabis?
Well, I mean, when at the height, like my current home garden is shut down. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police kind of felt that was for the best.
Yeah,
And at this point, until I get moved, I'm not going to grow here because you're just asking to get rated again. The reality is it's a lot easier to get a warrant for a home that's already been rated, even if you weren't the occupant.
wow.
If
Oh
that
wow.
home has been rated, it's a known drug area, so they
Wow.
can just get an instant warrant. But we've grown a couple food items. I'm a crazy cat lady to a point. My wife and I both. We had the dankest homegrown organic catnip in town.
Nice.
Um, but you can grow things like radishes, carrots, root vegetables, like with your cannabis, and it actually works very symbiotically. Like
Nice.
there's a great benefit having things that break up the soil, especially when you're using your soil. You want to have different crops in that soil, so it's not consistently the same thing taking out the same nutrients.
Hmm.
You mix it up a little bit, but then you also have all your scraps and waste that are going right back into the soil. But I mean, at our height, I know we had the realization that between just my wife and I, we were smoking about a pound a month of weed, and we
Damn.
didn't notice it because we had an excess. And all we had to grow in was a spare bedroom. Like our composting was done in like 30-gallon Rubbermaid totes, just stacked 3 high. You can put them in a corner. Just it's super easy, low maintenance. You literally just put it in the corner and forget about it until when you touch the side, it's no longer hot, because you'll notice it actually generates a bit of heat, which
Hmm.
if you're trying to keep your heat bills down in the winter, having an indoor compost that's treated to not smell, it's not going to warm your whole home, but you can add an extra degree or two here
Oh,
just
nice.
because of all the different organic processes that are happening. A lot of energy gets released, and there's just going to be heat. Um, but you can also tell, because like people say you can burn your plants with hot compost. They mean hot both in that it's too nutrient rich and it's just simply too hot temperature wise. But you can kind of tell, once it cools down, you can dump it out, get it into use. But I know a lot of it comes down to it's your methodology, patience, and really trying to best utilize the space you have. In a small space, you can grow a tremendous amount of biomass in just about any plant you're trying to grow. Like
Hmm.
a lot of really woody fruit trees are going to be difficult indoors. It's going to kill you on lighting just to provide all that artificial sunlight. But it would be kind of cool, if you're just doing like say lettuces, your root vegetables. You can do some tomatoes. We've done squash in the house. Squash, you just run your vines kind of up behind your cannabis plants, and you're already using all kinds of stakes and supports, which are very much needed. But it's a versatile vegetable as far as cooking use, but it's
Hmm.
incredibly easy to grow. Goes great also in the same soil system as your cannabis, and then all your scraps are going to be pretty high in both like phos and potassium, which are two of your big like micro or macronutrients that you need to feed back to your cannabis plants if you're trying to smoke. So that all kind of worked. And I think we basically grew in like what are known as tents. It's basically a big Mylar box. The one we had was 6'4" by 6'4" by 6'4", which I can remember that perfectly because I'm 6'5", and it was a little tricky to stand up. Always had to have the knees bent a little bit, like
That's
I was
it.
in some kind of like sports ball stance.
That's rough, man.
But yeah, but I mean, we were able to produce a tremendous amount of stuff, which the only reason the police, and that was the other thing is, nobody knew what was going on. The only reason the police knew is we had an investor at the one licensed cannabis facility I was working at. Long story short, he was basically ripping people off with like a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, fuck.
And I let people know, it's like, hey, protect yourselves, pull your money out. This is what's happening to you. Because my partner and I had built this business up. We had been lied to about getting a piece of ownership, but whole other story. But we were like, hey, we're not letting this person ruin this for us, because if we bring all this legal trouble down, all our work is tossed. But he was unhappy that I done the right thing and let people know. So he went, called the cops, hey, there's marijuana activity at this house. And, we went through a whole pleasant time. They completely trashed our house. There was some highly inappropriate humiliation. I know once I was in handcuffs and in the truck, we were outside, it wasn't cold. It's Las Vegas. It never gets actually cold, but it was like 40, Fahrenheit outside. We're barefoot. Wife has to use the bathroom. She has to go in, door open, all kinds of male officers just around her watching her. Like, it was, an absolutely terrible experience, but it also showed us firsthand just, hey, in case you forgot how inhuman policing is, this is what happens. This is how things go down.
But yeah, I don't quite understand. Was it like it was an illegal grow up that you guys had, or it was legal?
Well, that was the charges that I was hit with, because in Nevada now you can grow up to 12 plants legally. They got me with 42. Granted, 39 of those plants were in. I don't actually have one handy, but this is the classic Little Red Solo cup, because I was actually backing up genetics for our job, because my partner D does a lot of breeding. He creates a lot of the plants we have. I thankfully have a wonderful network of breeders that I'm friendly with that keep sending in seeds. So we had some just really exclusive genetics that nobody else could get. So it's like, oh, this is special stuff. We're keeping it. But that all got trashed. And then we got charged with felony possession, because and the day we actually got raided, I was saying to Tracy, like, hey, I got to get some plants going. We're getting low. Apparently, we had about 5 pounds of material in that house.
Oh, fuck.
But, if you're smoking like a pound a month between 2 people, I guess that will go quick.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Thankfully, I was able to fight charges. I'm still paying for it a couple years later, but, got a really good lawyer. And thankfully, there was a lot of mistakes in evidence collecting. We had some CBD hemp plants that there are no possession limits on. There was some CBD hemp bud instead of just real weed. So there was a couple things that kind of threw into question that they didn't make a differentiation between what was legal and what wasn't, which at least let me get to a point where it's like, well, I can call all of your evidence into question.
So you didn't get charged criminally for this?
Yeah, I was charged but not convicted.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. That's what I meant. Which is fucking sweet. Yeah, fucking me too. I got just last year I had got charged for like an assault and stealing, because I wanted to take some I needed some fucking hemorrhoid cream because my ass was on fire and I was fucking broke. I had just gotten fired and shit, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to steal this fucking cream. So I stole the cream. They caught me. Dude fucked me up, and I got charged for assault. I never even touched the guy. I got charged for fucking assault. So I'm happy that
if you hurt his hand by getting in the way of him hitting you,
I guess that's it. But yeah, I guess I had
put your face in front of his fist.
Yeah, but fuck. But anyways, that's really unfortunate what happened with the cops, especially with your partner. You got that's your wife or just your partner? You said.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, well, I have a business partner, D, and then I've got like my life partner Tracy.
Yeah, that's it.
She's just my better half. We live together. And it's so I get partners all. Well, it's just 2, but
that's it. 2 partners. But yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah,
very different aspects of my life, although they're probably the closest two people to me in life. So I guess
yeah, but that's
partner
why they're.
would be the right word.
Of course, that's why. That's it. Me too. That's how I always refer to my life partner, romantic partner. I just call her my partner, because she's my partner in so many other things, So it's good to look at it that way. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
the word wife even has problematic roots because I guess I'm being all Joe Pro anarchist and whatnot. You start realizing that the idea of marriage is really just like an ownership contract, which it's not exactly like what we should be aiming for as anarchists. That's part of an oppressive hierarchy right there. We're playing into a patriarchy that most of us at least pay lip service to. We should be trying to work towards actually bringing that down, and
yeah,
that's definitely one of the tools of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the major reasons why I don't want to be formally married. I don't need a church to tell me that. Oh, now you officially love this person. I don't need the church to tell me that, and I certainly don't need the state to tell me that either. So
No, the state's for smashing and burning, not for giving me
that's it.
permission to live my life.
Yeah, the bourgeois state needs to come down. But anyways, that's another conversation for another. Hey, but anyways, but I guess it's a good leeway into the guns. I guess.
Oh, well, that started young as well. Also with my grandfather, I grew up in Pennsylvania where like deer hunting is religion. Like the first day of deer season is most businesses are closed unless you handle like coffee for hunters, taxidermy, butchering, gun shops. Like school, it was a school holiday. A lot of businesses didn't open. So growing up around guns was just like it was as common as cars. Like I was given a 22 rifle at the age of 10, and I was taught that this is a tool. I wasn't even allowed to load it for a year until I was able to show that I could like carry it safely, handle it safely. I knew how to clean it, service it. We had actually had to like take apart the entire thing. Grandfather did an acid wash on the barrel to get some of the rust off. We had to strip and refinish the wood. It was, and I wish more people could have that experience so they could have that appreciation of what a firearm is. It really is nothing but a tool.
hmm
And it can be a toy, as much as I know a lot of people hate to say that. They can be a lot of fun if you use them safely and in the right, context. But had got into like competition shooting. I kind
Oh
of
wow.
fell out of hunting for a good number of reasons. One being when I was younger, we were a bit poor, so sometimes it really was a subsistence thing.
hmm
Um, it's not to a point where I have to kill something, to feed my household, so it's less likely. I can't really call on that, but I do love, got into sports shooting. I had actually had a huge collection of guns till I was in about my 20s. I had lost my daughter through some unfortunate
Oh
circumstances.
fuck. I'm sorry to hear that, bro.
My whole like mental state went to shit.
For
And
sure.
in a moment of clarity, I just hurried up and sold everything. It's like I'm gonna be a danger to either myself or someone else. So, and as much as I regret losing a lot of things, like I lost a shotgun my grandfather got as a child in the 20s, like
hmm
something that really would have been it's a family heirloom and very collectible that is irreplaceable, but at the same time, I'm still here and not in prison, and nobody had to get hurt because of me being bad with handling my trauma. I've since gotten back into firearms just because, well, one, they're fun. It's a really great activity to get out and shoot. It's an excellent. It's very purgative to get a lot of your bad feelings out. You almost
Yeah.
go into a meditative state where I want to condense everything that's bothering me down to a little ball and psychically put it into that bullet that I'm sending 200 yards down into a piece of paper. Or out here in Nevada, we shoot at a lot of trash that people just dump out in the desert. You go out shooting, it's like, hey, targets, all right.
Nice.
That we I don't have them handy, but I know I have a bunch of the SRA targets. It's the Klansman silhouette with the little
Nice.
ring around them. We like to leave those out every once in a while too, just to, good shot up Klansman with the 10-hole blown out. Kind of like, hey, just in case those types happen to be around, let them know that there's people that are ready to stand up to you.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely, and it's amazing that you guys have that. For me, in terms of guns growing up, it would be the complete opposite. Both based on my personal family experience. My mother never even let me have toy guns, toy swords, toy knives, nothing. She was very against alcohol and weapons in the house. That and obviously, the country that I live in, Canada, it's very strict gun control. I mean, you're gonna have like people who own guns are gonna be hunters, militia people, like right wing militia people in the West and stuff like that, and
uh,
criminal elements. That's pretty much it. And yeah, so it's not normalized. That's why I really like what you were saying before about it's very important to look at guns as a tool. It's very important to learn how to carry, do safety, clean it out before you can do things like have fun and go shoot KKK members, on a hypothetical piece of paper, right? So it's very
yeah.
good, and I wish that we could have had that culture in Canada as well. I do wish that it existed here.
Well, that's kind of one of the sad things is that culture exists just with the wrong, a lot of the, well, I don't even want to say the wrong people, but there's a lot of people that, like a lot like me, I had that, liberal bias a little bit for a while where it's like, I went through a period, it's like, yeah, maybe gun control's not so bad until you start looking into things like, well, the Haymarket martyrs, being like half Irish from Pennsylvania, knowing about the Molly McGuires and like, the Blair Mountain riots and like
Hmm.
all these great labor movements where had working people not been armed, they would have just been killed and
Yeah.
that would have been it. Um, so, there's a great importance there. I know, in a lot of anarchist circles, a lot of people are vegan, so I'm not going to expect there to be a lot of hunters,
Hmm.
but and that's unfortunately where a lot of people come into that culture from, and a lot of people are going to miss out on that. Which, it's not bad that people aren't going out and hunting, but it's like, at least having a firearm. Unfortunately, the way things are, it's becoming a necessary tool. Like I don't know if um, geez, and I forget the name. I want to say it's the Unicorn Riot Ranch out in Colorado.
Okay.
It's a ranch full of trans people that, I know Yellow Peril Tactical, Dorner Tactical, and a couple of the other lefty like gun sites were kind of raising money to send out body armor, ammo, because these people were being like harassed violently by a whole bunch of right wing groups because, well, no real good reason, but if you have a whole bunch of trans people trying to be happy and live their lives, there's going to be some right wing asshole that's just going to take offense to that for
Yeah, of course, for
whatever
nothing,
reason it
and
may be.
not only just take offense, but literally try to attack, harass these people. That's why it's a good idea,
Yeah.
maybe for trans people to hold a concealed carry. You know what I mean? At the end of the
Oh,
day, any bigot comes up to you, a fucking bullet in the head, and it's over, right?
hey, it's sad to say, but if you're going to be met, if someone's bringing that kind of force to you, you should be able to meet them with equal force.
Absolutely.
Um, I wish it weren't the way that way, but if that's how the world is, it's better to be prepared than just become a victim because you're just living the way you were born.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
I guess that's at least my hot take on it.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. There's been a discussion here going on in the chat about legalization of drugs, with Zidane saying that some people saying that they don't support the legalization of drugs, other people saying that they support decriminalization, other people support legalization. What's your ideas on that, SensiSnax?
Um, Decriminalization is really the way to go. Because legalization, living in Nevada, I'm seeing it firsthand. Legalization also means taxation, and they're still illegal. It's just like everything else. If you have enough money, you can get away with anything.
Yeah.
Where decriminalization would actually open things up to, just simply possessing or producing small amounts of some substances is no longer a life ruining event. It's, you're not going to get incarcerated, lose your ability to like like a decent job and all of this. Whereas legalization means that people with money can buy special licensing, and
Hmm.
then they can go and capitalize off of it. And then people are still allowed, because I got raided by the police well after legalization hit the map,
Yeah.
and I was charged with felonies that would have had me in prison for 25 years.
That's
Which,
fucked
uh,
up.
yeah, well, think about it. you think that's fucked up? Because of my complexion, it was only going to be 25 years. If you were one
Yeah.
or two shades darker than me, you'd probably get a start with 10 years more than that and up. And that's just the reality of what actually happens.
I
You
hear
know,
you.
I'm,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's like my complexion, gave me a little bit of a pass.
Yeah.
Same way that I can say I've had the shit kicked out of me by the cops 5 or 6 times instead of just shot once.
Yeah. I hear you.
It
I
all
hear you.
kind of ties in.
Yeah, same here. Even growing up, like I've had scuffles with cops. Like I've even I remember one instance, dude, we were just being harassed by cops at a Wendy's, and I remember something had happened, but I ended up squaring up a cop, and I was young. And then like after this whole incident had happened, I got let off scot free. Nothing happened to me. I was like, dude, you know what? If I was black or a person of color, Arab, because there's a lot of like Arabs in the neighborhood and shit, I would have definitely been treated differently. And it's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of situations. Yeah, a lot of situations that I've been in situations with cops, and I would have although I've been hit, beat, the handcuffs put on way too tight. I've had my head hit into the fucking the top of the door instead of them putting me down. Like a lot of these abuse
Oh,
instances
fast.
have happened, but I
Yeah,
haven't been shot.
yeah. One of my favorites was skateboarding at Love Park in Philly when I was about 16. So around 1995. And anybody who skateboards is probably familiar with Love Park. It's been a pretty well-known, like, just hot spot for like street skating. Great stairs, curved benches, a couple of good
Nice.
rails. Great place just to kind of grind around and have fun. But it's always been back and forth with, okay, we're letting skateboarding happening, to no skateboarding whatsoever. And it was me and a couple of my idiot buddies were out just skating around for the day while it was illegal at the time, and we're all minors. So basically, the police were kind of frustrated that they knew they weren't going to get charges on us. So what ended up happening was they had handcuffed all of us, threw the four of us into the back of a paddy wagon with our skateboards, just kind of loose. None of us were buckled in, and we got taken on a ride on it was the I-95 South. We went from Center City to past the airport, to anybody that knows the area. But it's a few miles, and they hit like 65, swerving hard because we're getting thrown into each
Yeah.
other, back and forth. The
Fuck.
skateboards flying around, which people have died in those kinds of situations. I think the only things we really had going for us was we were, you're a little bit more resilient when you're younger, and when you skateboard, especially if you're clumsy like me, one of the first skills you need to work on is learning how to fall.
Hmm.
I did an awful lot of it, so I kind of knew how to, like, basically take a fall without having, I guess, without having any serious, like, effects of it.
Hmm.
But you put somebody who's maybe a little bit older, somebody who doesn't, basically eat concrete 3 or 4 times a day, like out of their hobby, they're not going to take that fall, and you end up with a broken neck. And I'm going to feel like an asshole if I get this wrong, but I feel like it was Freddie Gray in Baltimore who the police murdered doing the same shit.
Oh, okay. It was just skateboarding and shit.
Well, he wasn't skateboarding, but what they had done was they had handcuffed him in the back of a
Oh
paddy
yeah,
wagon
yeah.
and took him on the rough ride where they just swerve and just throw you around.
Hmm.
That's, instead of leaving marks in their batons, or like, fist marks. It's, oh yeah, well, traffic.
Yeah.
And they can play off like they weren't doing anything, and hey, there's this man who ends up suffering all these severe blunt force traumas and dying in police custody. And I want to say it was one of the many cases where they picked him up on some bullshit misdemeanor that
For sure.
really wouldn't even be worth like being arrested and brought into jail.
Hmm.
And here it is that they decided to inflict a death penalty on him. But
It's fucked. Yeah, there's horrific stories like that here too, of like specifically like indigenous homeless people getting picked up by the cops. They'll have all their clothes taken away from them, and then they'll like stories I've heard of people being just thrown into a bush. There have been stories, of course, out west of the Starlight tours where they would pick up indigenous peoples, drive them into the cold, cold, cold forests. Not talking about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. We're talking about real cold here in fucking
the
Canada.
actual poll.
Yeah, real cold, snow and shit, and they would like pick up drunk people, whatever. They would drive them far into the forest, leave them there, and basically leave them to die. So we
Yeah.
have a history of fucked up shit like that here in Canada too, and I can just imagine how it manifests in all of the state iterations. You know what I mean?
Well, and we're finding out just how much deeper things really have been. Like, well, I guess that's my privilege talking, because there's people who've known how bad things are
Yeah.
as it's been going on. But being half white, cis hetero male, like I've been insulated to, as bad as shit's been for me, it really ain't shit compared to what a lot of people have been through. And like people like me at least are getting to see, like, holy shit, we're seeing what's happening with the residential schools
Yeah.
in Canada. What's going to happen when we start digging up on reservations out here? I imagine it's going to be every bit as bad. But we live in a pair, like, we're well paired colonial states with a lot of the same atrocities in our backgrounds. So, like, yeah, the Starlight tours, that sounds about par for the course for what's been done. And like I said, I was in Moose Jaw in like late fall, and that
Hmm.
was, I know that's not that far north, and it's not that cold
It's still
comparatively.
cold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than I wanted to. It's more than I wanted to live through, and that's like,
Yeah.
with gi and jackets and all of that, not stuck out like, left to die. Like
That's
that,
it.
yeah, sounds just beyond atrocious.
Yeah, it's disgusting, and it just goes to show how ineffectual and impotent the police as an organization, as an institution, is when dealing with homelessness, the indigenous population in general. I say homelessness because here in Montreal, unfortunately, majority of the population of indigenous people is represented in the homeless population, and yeah, we just really see how ineffectual the police is in dealing with that. Not only ineffectual, but dangerous as well. Hopefully these things will change slowly, slowly. Hopefully we can enter some kind of like a decolonization, not some kind of shallow decolonization, but some kind of a real decolonization. I don't know how or when that will come, but hopefully we can do that, some kind of thing like that. But
Oh, hey, Frank. Sorry, I was looking at the chat.
hey, no sweat. What's happening, Frank?
That's one of my comrades, shooting buddy, as well as we do anarchist shit together. Somebody I
Nice.
met through the Food Not Bombs group with the Builds, which, man, that's, talk about a wonderful group of people. Like, everybody I've met through that organization's been beyond astounding. But I guess if you're gonna, I also met them last summer, where it gets about, um, I want to say about 44, 45 degrees Celsius up here in the summer,
Okay, it's fucking
outside.
hot.
Yeah, it's about 120 Fahrenheit, and like that's where I met them, outside in a completely non-shaded area. We're building tiny homes for a homeless encampment. So I guess I'm going to be biased that those are going to be some pretty awesome people, because shit, that's an awful lot to do. People literally die in that kind of heat,
Yeah, for
being out, which is why we're out there, because at least we're all people that can go home to a cold shower and a little bit of air conditioning.
No, thank you so much for your work, honestly. And here I have popped up just the Food Not Bombs flyer for anyone who might be in the Las Vegas area. If anybody wants to check it out, Food Not Bombs on Instagram, Las Vegas. There are also some links in the description. I think there's one for Food Not Bombs you can donate. There's also New Leaf Community Project that you can donate and go check them out.
Yeah,
So please,
yeah, yeah.
SensiSnax.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, please talk a little bit about these organizations. You can finish off your thought first.
Oh, shit. Well, I smoked some drugs, so I already lost it. But
No
um,
problem.
yeah, a New Leaf Community is actually a parallel organization with Food Not Bombs. It's a lot of the same people doing the same work. It's just Food Not Bombs has like a larger scope of what we do, whereas New Leaf is really about basically building these tiny homes, which we
Mhm.
had a wonderful little encampment last year. God, I want to say we were approaching, not quite two, but approaching about 2 dozen homes that we had built, which, everything built was basically built by this group of people. We have two people that kind of, I don't want to say leaders, but they kind of help direct, because they have the experience and the know-how. Robert Majors, and then Joey, who's kind of the head of the Food Not Bombs group, would kind of teach a lot of people that, I'm someone that came in there, like, I'm barely competent to swing a hammer. You want gardening, I'm your guy. You want to do a little bit of underground plumbing to like get your grow going, I'm great with that. But wood, I'm fairly, it was 26 huts. Thank you, Frank. Um, but yeah, we had built these, and then it was actually, I want to say it was Thanksgiving Day, they were demolished, or that was the day they got the notice that they were getting demolished. But the city, completely in disregard of the CDC guidance, saying that, during the COVID pandemic, if there's groups of homeless people and they're like safe and okay, do not like uproot them, let them be where they're at. It's going
Hmm.
to be a benefit to the whole community. But instead we had, the city of Las Vegas and the miserable lush mayor that we have thought it was better to send in heavy machinery, basically evict these people, give them about a half hour to, hey, everything you own in your life, get it together in about a half hour, and we're just demolishing everything.
It's fucking
All that
horrible.
hard work, and looking at what lumber prices are, the amount of wood that they destroyed for no good reason, because this was on unused city land. It was alongside of a wash where we had actually had a donation for hand washing stations. We had a shower truck that would go out there, and like it was, we were building a community for these people. While we were out there, we were doing trash pickups. I know our local normal chapter, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, for those who
Nice.
are interested, we had someone from them actually come out, pass out all kinds of CBD tinctures and medicines, because a lot of the people that are out there, you know a lot of people who are on the street aren't there because life's going good and they're making that choice. It's people that
Some are.
kind of need.
But not that life's going good, but some people are on the streets by choice. You know what I mean? By choice. Let continue, comrade.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a lot of the folks out there. There's medical issues.
Yeah,
Sometimes you'll have people that are kind of on the dual diagnosis end of things, where there's a mental illness and then there's a substance abuse problem. Usually the two kind of, well, usually the substance abuse comes as a way to cope with the mental illness, because
hmm
I worked at the state psychiatric hospital out here for a good number of years, and I can tell you exactly how piss poor the care that someone without a good amount of money can get out here.
yeah,
The
for
reality
sure.
is, even if you have money, you're getting shit psychiatric care, but you're at least getting something.
Hmm.
So we have a lot of people that they're just hurting. There's really no other way to put it. So and people would come out, and it was awesome. Like, we had days where we'd be pulling in building materials, and then all of a sudden you see like 5 trucks show up, and it's like, hey, do you guys know, the Food Not Bombs group? Or it's like, no, we just, it was, and I've always noticed it's more often than not it would be people of color, that would show up, and it'd be like, yeah, we just know that there's homeless people, so we have these 8 cases of cold water that we wanted to pass out. And it's like,
Nice.
when some people started doing it, you started that good momentum where the community was getting involved in helping these people. At least, if you're not fixing their problems, you're at least helping them feel a little bit more human, which really is a foundation to kind of improving your life. Like, if you feel like shit, why are you gonna bother? But if somebody can actually take a moment, extend a hand and say, hey, let me lift you up to at least, I may not be doing great, but let me at least lift you up to where I'm at. Make sure you've got some food. Make sure you've got water. Make sure you're treated like an actual human being. I'm
Hmm.
not just going to look past you and ignore you, but like, hey, you're here, you're present, you're one of us, and somebody may not, care about you deeply, but shit, at least somebody cares that you live and that you're there and wants to help. And yeah, we had the police come in, rip all that down, and that's not all that's really been, has been like a speed bump, because now some of the people in the group had the great idea. We put these little huts that we were building onto trailers, and
Okay.
then you get the trailer, you take it to the DMV, you get a license plate for it, it's registered. So now we can at least, now you just have to worry about the trailers getting towed if you're in a no parking area.
Yeah.
But now we're just putting these trailers, and they're insulated. You've got a floor, you've got walls, and one thing that from day one I noticed was very important. There's a locking door, because a lot of women who are out on the street, and I hate to say, they're going to be like highly subject to abuse,
For sure.
because there's just a lot of men that abuse women physically and sexually. And to be able to get behind a locked door is giving somebody at least a tiny bit. You can always break a door down, but at least you've got something you can do to maybe I don't know,
Deter.
assuage that, make it not as bad, or at least slow it down.
That's
Maybe
it.
somebody else can hear and come and help, but you're at least creating something like that.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. It's just somebody comes. I'm pretty sure somebody comes and just plays with the doorknob a little bit. If the door doesn't open, I'm pretty sure 90% of people would just fuck off. Maybe you have one
Yeah.
crazy person who wants to break the door down, but it's super important that we allow homeless people to have some type of privacy. You know, like we take that such for granted. Just a place to go, close the door, do whatever the fuck you need to do. Unconditional. Me, I don't give a fuck. People do drugs that are not homeless too, so don't worry about homeless people that are spending money on drugs. It's just a fucking part of reality. Let these
And you
people have
know,
a space.
yeah, and one thing that's ridiculous, if you don't want homeless people doing drugs out in public, if you can go to your little hut and do your drugs, hey, out of sight, out of mind, which is really all the city cares about. They don't really care about the
Unfortunately.
root causes of the problems. They don't care about the consequences of these people doing drugs. It's just we don't want to see the tourists. You know, we don't want the tourists to see somebody shooting up on the sidewalk. Well,
Yeah.
great. They've got someplace where they're out of sight. They can be comfortable, you know, and yeah, and having that privacy and peace is it's worth a lot. Like I've
Yeah.
lived on the street for a short period, and that's one of the first things that really hits you is that you never have like safe, sound sleep because you've always got to be a little on edge.
Yeah.
And you know, if God forbid you have anything that you need, you know, somebody can steal it when you're asleep because there's other people that are in desperate situations, which you know,
Yeah,
what
that's it.
happens.
I mean, like through these community organizations like New Leaf, I'm sure there are a myriad other types, but we only have a certain amount of power to build what we can build. At the end of the day, it's going to take a state apparatus. Unfortunately, to say, it's going to take a state apparatus to be able to build real permanent housing for these people. Real permanent housing, like what you guys are doing is fantastic. It's amazing. I don't want to take anything away from it, and it.
I don't want to be a contrarian, but actually, New Leaf and Food Not Bombs is buying a plot of land so that
Nice.
they can actually put permanent housing down for people. So I'm gonna maybe the hammer and sickle on my hat's giving me the wrong idea. We don't need a state. A state is more likely to do more harm than good. Come get your coffee, Tracy. Um, sorry, I just see the comment. But no, you don't need a state. And actually, that's one of the most important things about organizations like this. We can build dual power. We can show that the community is more capable and more ready to actually take care of itself than to basically pass it off to the state, which more than likely any money that goes to that is going to end up getting wasted and
Oh yeah.
disused. It's going to get
Yeah.
lost in bureaucracy and a few like payouts and all of
Yeah,
that.
with the current state, of course, with the current state. But I just think that like having a state apparatus, we would be able to build like instead of small tiny houses, we might be able to build like big apartment complexes for people to live in and shit. That's the only like positive that
I
I
don't
see.
know. That sounds like some counter-revolutionary Leninist kind of stuff to me.
Yeah, Lenin
We
Lenin's all right in my book, and so obviously I don't stand Lenin, but I read Lenin, and at the
I'm
it's
just
like look,
having fun with you.
no, I know,
But
but like look
but
at
no,
the end
but
of the day, it's like
honestly, the only reason that communities would have that limitation is because people believe that we have that limitation. There's
no,
no
but
reason that
but the limitation is physically there. There's only so much fundraising that an org can do. That like, and at the same time, you're still buying a private plot of land. So like, all these things have to be taken into consideration, of course.
right.
Still,
But I mean, we can get to a point where it's one thing I've learned being like, especially with being a weed grower. There's always a dynamic of time, work, and money. If you don't
hmm
have a whole lot of money to put into something, it's going to cost you more work, more time. It's cheaper to go out, or it's easier to go out and just rent a concrete truck and have a company come pour your foundations and like the frame of the building if you want to build an apartment building.
yeah.
But if you don't have the money for that, you can start. It's a lot cheaper to buy raw ingredients, do the work yourself, but it's a much greater commitment of time. It's a much greater commitment of work, but it's entirely possible. And as anarchists, I believe that's one of the biggest things that we need to do instead of going the kind of the easy, lazy route with like a vanguard party that's going to tell people how to think. You have to get out there and do the groundwork and start educating people. Show people through your good example that this works, this is better, and at this point, your direct community can have control over what's happening. We don't ever need someone that doesn't understand our material conditions
Yeah.
telling us how we need to live. When if we're on, if we're actually on the ground, we see it, and we can control it. It's really a question of us getting out there more. And thankfully, we're kind of blessed with our group. We have someone who I'm not sure exactly what his situation is. I know but I know we have Xander Corvus, who not only provides a lot of food for the group while they're working, provides an awful lot for a lot of the people we help. And he's also out there making sure, he sponsors more than a few online initiatives to help people get the word out. And it also always ends up in us getting our name out more.
Yeah.
We're more likely to, have more people get interested. And
Yeah.
that's someone who's taking, he's at least got a voice where he's using that to project out and bring more people in. And that's an example we can all kind of get into. Even if I'm just, telling the people I work with, hey, you guys ought to come out, and help us out. And they may not, but I know like our office manager got involved with a group called Mass Liberation instead, where they're trying to get people out of jail, and they've done different partnerships with our organization on other aspects. And you start planting the seed so that people realize, hey, you can actually do something. You don't need a state. Actually, the state's really nothing more than a hindrance to you. It's a roadblock, if anything else, because the state just means there's more interest beyond what needs to be done.
Yeah. And the way that I look at it, don't get me wrong here. I want to make it clear that I'm not against empowering people to do things outside of the state. 100%. I think that if anything, we need to be focusing on that more. But at the same time, like let's say just in the context of Montreal or something, we don't really have any of this. And even if it were to start, I still think people should be pressuring. Even if you're just talking about municipal governments, like people in Montreal should be pressuring the municipal governments to have some kind of social housing projects, not social housing projects that are contingent upon okay, because here in Montreal, it's like they have like these ideas of, if you're going to build a bunch of condos for rich people, you need to make sure that about 30% of those buildings are accessible to poorer people and shit. I don't mean a kind of social housing like that. I mean social housing projects where we're just really building big houses for people that have access to plumbing, they have access to all kinds of things. And maybe we might be able to do that with these small community organizations. I'm not saying we're not, you know what I mean, but we're just not there yet, you know what I mean? But we can get there. And as an anarchist, I 100% believe that, no doubt.
And that's one of the sad truths I think every anarchist needs to take to heart is a lot of the work you're doing you may never see realized in your own lifetime.
Yeah, it's okay.
You need to have that long-term vision where what I'm working towards is going to be for a better humanity that's going to endure. I may never see anything happen, but what we can start doing is take a lead from, not sure if you're familiar with Professor Richard Wolff.
Yeah.
He's a Marxist economist, has a bunch of great ideas. And one of the business plans with my partner that we continually discuss is we want to be basically we're working towards owning our own business so that we can create something that everybody that works there owns a piece of that and start buying franchise businesses that we can turn over into co-ops. Mm-hmm. And then you take, you basically create a little 5% ownership of these businesses that can go funnel back towards a community organization where it's like you have you could set up something. My personal dream that I'm looking to start up if we ever get this kind of business success, something I would want to call the Panther Breakfast Club, to basically follow the lead of the Black Panthers, creating community organizations where people get fed. And you create spaces where you have community organizing and you're doing that education and you're getting out to the communities. And
one sec. I just want to be clear. The Black Panthers position themselves as a vanguard party.
I know, and that's a little problematic, but I'm also a huge fan.
I love you,
I talk a lot
SensiSnax.
of
I love you.
I talk a lot of shit, but no, I'm actually a huge fan of Huey Newton. He's
Yeah,
like a
same.
personal hero.
Same here, fuck.
And that's also, I'm one to not be crazy about nationalism, but black nationalism is something that I have a great appreciation for. Also being half Irish, Irish nationalism, same
Yeah.
idea, where nationalism for people that have been colonized and oppressed is a lot different than when the colonizers and the oppressors claim nationalism.
Absolutely. And it's like I was talking
And
to when I was talking to Ramiro the other day, he said something really awesome, and he's like, the reason that people in Canada and the United States, the reason that they become, well, leftists anyways, the reason that they become anti-nationalist is because realistically these are not nations what we live in. The United States,
they're
Canada,
colonies.
these are not nations. They're colonies, they're empires, and they're corporations. So it would be unfair to be anti-nationalist when anarchists of all stripes support national liberation movements all over the
Yeah,
world.
it's actually same as like Indian nationalism.
Mhm.
Like I know when you really look into a
Indian
lot
as in indigenous, or
no, like India, the country.
okay, my bad, my bad.
Former, much like the U.S. and Canada, former British colony, and
Yes.
it's when it takes that same path, it's nationalism is a powerful tool to take back some of your humanity and take back like where it is that you live, that you have these roots with.
Yeah, absolutely,
But
absolutely.
at the same time, I guess I also look at the idea of nationalism is it's something that I guess similar to how Lenin felt the state should wither away and die.
Hmm.
Eventually, nationalism should be able to do the same once its goal is reached to get achieving liberation for people. You start growing into the wider, start looking beyond having a state where you can be nationalist and go more towards ideally at some point in the future we can start letting the borders also wither away
Yeah,
and stop
yeah.
worrying so much about the divisions and be proud of your culture and maintain it, make sure it's preserved so that your great grandchildren can still have a piece of where they come from, but at the same time never use it to kind of use as a wedge in between you and someone else, that you still have the same basic needs of existence where you should always be able to be cooperative. And I guess that's the only issue with nationalism I can see arising is when you start making these divisions, but then again it's something that you have to address once you achieve that level of liberation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the trajectory, I mean, of any anarchist, of any like self-respecting leftist, I would even say, the trajectory of where we want to go is a much more internationalist type of thing, where um, we are trying to help the needs, the human needs, not the specific human, the what kind of human you are, but just the human needs in general. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with that, and I didn't even fucking smoke today. Wow.
You
Wow.
know, as soon as like travel restrictions get raised up, you should come down and visit. We'll fix that.
I'm done. I'm done. You know what? I was even actually talking to my partner, and like, she wants like a birthday gift because she saw that like plane prices are super low and shit like that. She's like, either we go to Vancouver or we go to Nevada. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. If I go to Nevada, I'm gonna. The only reason I'm going is to see SensiSnax because honestly, I don't know what the fuck else I would do in Las Vegas, bro.
It's there's a lot about Las Vegas that like it took me a long time to learn to love it. The casinos are trash. It's neat
Yeah.
when you see them once. It's like, oh wow, look how big, how shiny. And if you're really bad at math, gambling can be fun. Um, as far as even
Yeah.
food on the strip, I cooked on the strip for years. The food is very much overrated. It's a lot more about presentation and flavor. Whole other conversation.
What about on like the
Um,
vegan scene? Let's say, if do you know
we
anything about.
actually, we have a wonderful place called Tacotarian that's fully vegan. Every time
Nice.
I'm with the Food Not Bombs group, they've donated a good amount of food to us. They give us good prices, or we just go there because it's friendly and welcoming. But we have more than a few good vegan restaurants out here. But a lot of what's magical about Nevada exists well outside of the strip.
Hmm.
Like the casinos are such a small fraction of what's happening out here.
I hear you.
Like the desert landscape is beautiful. I know like going out, like one of my favorite things to do in the world is around May, and it's been a couple of years since I've been able to. I need to.
Hmm.
There's a spot basically towards the California-Nevada border where there's a few roads that aren't really traveled so much towards Joshua Tree National Forest,
Hmm.
and you can go down them, and we call it herping. You're going and looking at all the different herpivores, your lizards,
Oh
your
wow,
turtles, your snakes, and you can see them basking basically on the road because they're not used to seeing cars. So you
sick.
can see, it's like you see your Mojave rattlers, your desert tortoise, bearded lizards. You see red-tailed hawks like hunting out in the brush, and it's the wild. There's sparse wildlife, but everything we have out here is amazing because it's able to live in such hostile conditions. But
Hmm.
the rock formations are beautiful. There's places you can go hiking, see like fairly ancient petroglyphs from the indigenous peoples that had passed through and lived here. And of course, we've got a strong and growing anarchist community out here. So there's always great stuff to do. I know our local sex workers do like they do a radical movie night where they actually go out to a park, put up a projector screen, and just have like a family night, to watch movies and just do a little community outreach, have a little bit of education with it. Of course, there's always the protests. Every Friday we're building at UMOC, so that's where we go to build the all of that, like the huts and all of that. Some of the people from my anarchist group, like we go out shooting together. Always a good time. A bunch of anarchists with guns and binary explosives. It's hard to beat.
For sure. I've never shot like an automatic or semi-automatic weapon. I've only shot a 9 millimeter, and there was like a 9 millimeter, and you put it into some kind of I don't know. It was like some kind of like you take the 9 millimeter, you put it into this thing, and it's like you rest it on your shoulder. I don't know what the fuck it's called, and it's more precise. You can shoot the 9 millimeter more precise. It has like a little red dot and everything. I don't know what it was called.
Was it a handgun or a rifle?
Oh, it was a handgun, straight up, a nine
Oh,
millimeter handgun, yeah. And it was like this
okay.
thing you could put it into, and then you could like hold it onto your ear, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. But like I
Oh,
said,
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
me, I never grew up fucking with guns and shit like that. So I was always
Oh,
anti-gun. I was straight up anti-gun for a long time. You know what I mean? But then I shot one, and I was like, holy shit, this is actually pretty fun. Even dude, like one tiny little fucking way this way or this way, and your shooting is wrong. It's a very precise thing too. You know what I mean?
that's a lot of the fun of the sport. But actually, my comrade Frank works at. We have a few gun ranges out here, but they rent fully automatic like weapons too, where you can go and get like a machine gun or an actual like AK, type rifle,
Yeah,
and shoot it full auto. And it's not quite as fun like doing it in a controlled situation like that.
for sure, for sure.
But it is a trip. Like it's something that if you've never shot, like it's hard to not smile because there is something there's something just very visceral that is fun about shooting where that recoil, the loud noise, the
Yeah,
flash, it's all, there's just something that's very pleasing when it all comes together. Like you have a physical experience, and then when you realize that you're sending this tiny projectile someplace that, it's a lot further than you could ever throw something, or it's like, hundreds of yards away. It's like, oh, wow. Like it kind of like infantilizes you like momentarily, like, oh man, that's neat. It's
yeah.
almost like magic, except that it's not.
But at the same
But yeah,
time, it can also give you a feeling of power. Now that feeling of power can consume you for sure, but it can also be fun.
yeah, very, very, very true. I know when I was much younger, I used to, carry a gun on my hip when I was out, and I realized I was more likely to get into situations I would need that gun when I had it than if I didn't, which is
Hmm.
actually why it's rare I actually have something on me when I'm out of the house unless I'm out shooting.
Yeah, I hear you. I
Yeah,
hear
that,
you.
that power can be problematic in a big way.
Absolutely, especially depending on what kind of context you're in. If that kind of shit comes to you quick, fuck, man, it can be a life ruiner very, very quickly. So, SensiSnax, I just wanted to show this video of the new Leaf communities.
Oh yes, please.
You don't mind if I do that?
No, no, please do.
Yeah, so New Leaf community makes tiny houses for homeless in Las Vegas. This report that you sent me, when was it done exactly?
I want to say that news report would have been maybe 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, so it's very recent.
Yeah, early July, late June, I believe.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure myself out here.
Hey, we're all
Oh,
trying to figure ourselves out, man. That's just life.
that's damn right. Yeah. But for me, on my end, yo, things have been going better. There was that stint I went through there where my buddy had killed himself. Yo, I was feeling fucked up. But and also like now I'm working less, so you can imagine how much that helps.
Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't been paid for my job for about a week, so I'm not really working at all. And man, it feels great.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you, what do you think? You're gonna like just get some unemployment for the meantime, or?
Um, Filing for unemployment, looking for another job. Part of the problem of being leadership, like part of the leadership where I'm at is, like my partner D, in a very big way, has been stressing over this, and we're trying to find jobs for us and the other 8 people we have there.
Mhm.
So we're trying to get into a situation where instead of working for someone else, we're trying to create a situation where we can just work for ourselves and actually, just be the people who actually do the work benefit from it instead of, end up paying someone who the only thing that they had were some strips of paper with an imaginary value on it.
Yeah.
And, well, leaves you feeling alienated and basically everything else that Marx talked about and was right about.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuck, I feel you. All right, so I'm gonna play this video. This is New Leaf community. They build tiny houses for the homeless population around Las Vegas area. So if anybody wants, they can donate in the description below to New Leaf Community Project. And let's, without further ado, try to do this. Hopefully it works. Okay, share. My bad. My bad. I don't really want to be showing my chats and stuff. What the fuck?
Is the sound not cooperating?
Sorry?
Is the sound not cooperating?
Oh, you don't hear anything?
Well, you know what though? I'm talking to you through the app, so I'm probably a bad judge of that. Don't mind
Hey,
me.
if anybody in the chat could tell me whether or not you hear this, I don't know. Could be that there's problems, but I hear it on my end.
Yeah, then don't mind me. I'm sorry.
I don't even know if anybody hears it though.
Yeah, because
I'm not hearing much. Okay, not hearing much. Maybe I just need to turn up my.
Yeah, because I've got the YouTube stream on the other side of my phone, and I'm seeing Robert. He's kind of the mastermind on the Conestoga design,
Yeah.
talking, but I'm not hearing him.
Fuck, I don't know what to do here.
And I
Here,
want
let
to
me
say
go.
I don't think that clip was the loudest either.
No, but I hear it loud and clear. Can't hear it. They can't hear it. I hear muffled sounds. Desktop audio. I have no idea how to fix this. Because I'm using StreamYard. I don't usually use StreamYard. Well, just for like interviews like this, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
fuck.
I'm not super technologically adept, so I was glad you went with the simple one.
Yeah, for sure. My chat is down 50% time. Fuck it. I don't know how to fix this. So if anything, I'll just put the link in the description and that's it. Because I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know what to say here. All right. Do you think you could give me like 2 minutes? I just want to get a little bit of weed. I want to take a little bong hit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So give me 2 seconds.
Who am I to judge?
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I'll be back 2 seconds. Just give me a couple seconds.
I don't know. Shall I entertain or?
Right. Oh yeah, that's better. Hello?
Hey, hey.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I just took a nice little bong hit. That felt good. But yeah,
Hey,
it
it's got
sucks.
vitamins and shit.
That's it. Fuck. But yeah. So fuck.
But you know, we may not have been able to see the video, but one of the really important things is we've actually got mainstream media news giving a very positive story, which honestly I wasn't expecting. So like, you know, that's something like I saw that, it's like, holy shit, that's great. Like that's where you get your community support from.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's
Although I would
fucking.
definitely,
It's really awesome that you got that mainstream. Yeah, for sure. What were you saying?
damn it, I forgot.
It's okay. It's the marijuana, dude. It's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. No matter what. Any conversation I have with people when I'm stoned, I'm constantly doing that.
Yeah, you know, it keeps things entertaining because hey, if you forget it, you hear it again. It's almost like you never heard it before.
That's it. Like, and sometimes, sometimes honestly, when I'm too stoned and I'm thinking of an idea and it just slips me, dude, it fucking gives me anxiety. But like, you have to learn how to calm down and just say, listen, the thought is gone. It'll come back around if it needs to.
Yeah, if it's that important, it'll come back.
Yeah, definitely. So, what are you smoking on today, Mr. SensiSnax?
It's been some white runts from work, which yeah, it's all right. And then I had some black sunshine, which was a strain that was bred by a buddy of mine. He's a Marine vet living out in North Carolina who's probably done some of the best breeding work that I've come across. But it's a nice little fruity sativa that we have.
How do you breed? How do you do it? Do you know much about the process of breeding for a hybrid?
Yeah, I've bred a little bit myself. It basically it depends on how much you really want to put into it because there's some people that'll just take, marijuana is a dioecious plant, which means that you have a true female and a true male, and then you have a spectrum of different like levels of intersex traits that happen between those.
Cool.
But like what you smoke are all female flowers.
Yeah.
So it's basically if you're just growing for bud production, killing off all of your males is basically the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
And what you do is you also clone plants so that you get uniformity and which traits you're getting. But when
Isn't
you
there
want to
also
breed,
isn't there also like an element of like you can have a female plant, but it will in fact be a hermaphrodite or something like that of some sort,
well,
and it can turn
yeah,
into a male and ruin everything?
well, and that's what I was kind of saying, like with the spectrum intersex traits, it's a lot like people. Like the genetic makeup is going to possess both male and female like attributes, and then depending on like basically environmental conditions, you may have a female that looks like a true female but has all these male traits that never present. But then
Okay.
under the right environmental conditions, all of a sudden you've got female flower clusters with a couple of male pollen sacs that start to arise,
Wow.
oftentimes from stress. It's how cannabis like more feral and wild cannabis very regularly goes hermaphroditic because it's a survival mechanism. It can self-pollinate or pollinate other like sex plants. So it's just something that's inborn because it's genetically desirable to be able to have aspects of both male and female, which is kind of widespread through most of the plant and animal kingdom. Whenever you have delineated sexes, you
Mhm.
rarely get something that's 100% pure one or the other.
Of
So
course.
it's a lot of times it's just how they manifest. But there's techniques that you can use to basically repress like male traits from coming out of a female plant. When you grow
Okay.
indoors, you have a higher like problem with that. So you have to be a little bit more on point. You can also just remove male pollen sacs as they come up because they will leave pollen and seed up your plants. And when you have seeds, you're gonna have lower potency. Plus, You don't want to smoke
Seeds.
weed.
Just fucking seeds generally. So fucking annoying sometimes. But well, generally with the weed we get here from the government, because lately I've been buying from the government. So think what you will about it, but I don't have a dealer who could come to my house, so I go there. And
You anywhere near Hamilton?
huh?
You anywhere near Hamilton?
Dude, me, I'm in Montreal.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's
It's a
a
bit
ways
far,
down.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's at least
Oh,
a few hour drive.
okay, yeah, I was gonna say I know somebody who's breeding and growing over there. I'm trying to think. I know
Yeah.
a few Canadian growers, and it's killing me that
Yeah,
I'm
but they
not
probably they
so up on
probably
locations.
yeah, but they probably just sell their shit to the state anyway, because here in Canada, here in
Mm,
Quebec, no?
no, no, they're not those kinds of
Okay,
people.
they're
Those
like
are
they're
good
like
people.
okay, I hear you. I thought
They,
maybe
they,
they were
they,
doing it as like a business or what.
no, it's more of a like you need somebody to hit you with a 50 sack at your
Yeah,
house.
yeah, I got you,
That's
I
the
got you.
guy.
I
Yeah,
got
the
you, I
good
got you.
people.
Yeah, yeah. I had a buddy who would just recently he was meeting me all the time at work and shit like that. But at the same time, he decided to stop dealing because, dude, people want to start families and shit like that. It becomes a bit more risky and stuff. So it's good on him. You know what I mean?
You decide you want to start. Like I'm a huge advocate of people growing their own. I know I was able to get my costs below $1 a gram to grow my own at home.
Nice. I've always
It
wanted to
costs
grow my own. Like at one point I was gonna when I had the money from my old job, it was either I was gonna buy like shit to turn an extra room into a weed room, or I was gonna get streaming equipment. And I got the
uh,
streaming equipment instead.
well, good choice because you can always. It's actually not that hard to grow. I actually
Yeah.
have like I played bass guitar for years.
Nice.
I
Same
have an
here.
old Yeah, I have an old Fender Bassman bass cabinet. It's a 2x15 speaker stack. I actually gutted it out, put a little
Okay.
300-watt LED panel in it, and it was a nice little stealth grow. Like you're not pulling pounds out of that thing, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I had it in my living room. That's where I put my key. I put my keys on top of it when I come home every day. But
Yeah.
you pop the little speaker face off, and you can have a light, you have your plants, you can get your little like ventilation going. You can always grow in a closet. I
Yeah.
can walk you through if you've got a foot locker. I can teach you to convert that. You can run a couple plants, or
Yeah.
you can blow out a whole room, a house, a garage.
Yeah, I was thinking of a room, but I was thinking of doing it with tents at the time. Now I don't have space. Maybe I might have space for a small tent, but have you used tents or you just put the lights on the ceiling and
Oh, I actually prefer tents if given the option for a home grow because it's more
okay.
controllable, and you
Yeah.
can also have multiple going where they're separated. Because say you do have a hermaphrodite plant in one and it's growing pollen, you're not going to infect everything with the pollen. You can just keep it contained. If
Yeah.
you have a bug outbreak or a fungal outbreak, it's easier to keep it contained. It's easier to control environments. You can also have stuff on different lighting cycles because the
Hmm.
flower cannabis, you need to have the lights on for 12 hours, off for 12 hours. So you can basically keep your heat down if you have, say, two different tents flowering. One will run from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Then when that turns off at 7 p.m., the other one turns on until 7 a.m. So you're not blasting the heat from both tents at one time. You can break it up continuously through the day. That and
Hmm.
it's more of a protection against like infrared cameras from police helicopters. A lot of people get caught that way.
Yeah.
So you
The
don't
in
have
this in
excessive
the
light in your windows.
Yeah, in the fucking places also where it snows, if you have like a roof that collects snow, it could
Oh, I've
fucking
seen
melt
that.
that shit. Yeah, dude, it's pretty crazy. But
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah, those big spots.
me if I do anything, I live in Quebec, so everything is legal. I'm allowed to plant up to 4 plants legally, personally myself. So anything that I say here, it's all within the law.
And the one thing is like plant counts. Really, it's a stupid way to go about the law because we
Yeah,
have them here. It used to actually be you could have 7 plants, 4 in a vegetative state, 3 flowering.
so
So,
weird.
well, what you do is like and I was just running multiple tents in a spare bedroom. I'd go and get 15-gallon nursery pots because if I'm only growing 3 plants, well, shit, I ought to be able to take at least a half a pound off of each to make it worth
Yeah.
my time. Whereas I can get the same. I can run 100 plants in a space, or I can run 4, and I can get the same amount of yield. The difference is to grow bigger plants, it's more time, and it's also a lot heavier water usage, which, living in the desert with like constant droughts, it would make more sense to base things on canopy size where people can keep smaller plants that take less water, take less time to grow, because it really, the number of plants has exactly zero bearing on what's happening. Because if you grow 100 plants that put out like a half ounce each, or you grow 4 plants that put out like 4 pounds combined, what's the difference?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's ridiculous. It just shows how disconnected the state is from the people, from what goes on in the reality. You know what I mean? In the material reality. And as Veronica says here, yes, they do plant counts in Jamaica too, although many of us don't follow that shit. And I'm pretty sure that that's common no matter where you're going to run into this kind of stuff for sure. But
Oh, right on. And yeah, Jamaica has a wonderful scene. Actually, someone I had the privilege of meeting through the industry. She's a rapper, the First Lady of the West Coast. I know her and her, I think they're together. I know they're travel companions, but they have a cool energy between them. But I know they're actually starting to grow down there. She has her own strain, Black Girl Magic OG. But
I'm going to check that out. Let me check that out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and which is like we have one thing that's awesome seeing, because the cannabis industry it's predominantly like white dudes with a fondness for cargo shorts. Um, like my business partner D and I went to, it was MJ BizCon. We actually made a game out of let's count the white guys in cargo shorts.
Yeah.
Because it's endemic.
Wait. What was she called? What was she called again? Sorry.
Oh, the First Lady of the West Coast.
Okay, sorry about that.
But yeah, it's cool to see somebody who's black and somebody who's female, because it's a white boy sausage party for the most part. So anything that a variation of that is really cool to see.
Well, yeah, but that's it. But that's it. But that's it. It's because it's a reflection of the society, and we need that as reflected in everything else too. You know what I mean? Like, for sure.
Well, yeah, and then like with the legal side of it, licensing is controlled by the state, which they'll throw some crumbs out and like make sure you've got like, all right, we'll make sure at least 2 or 3 women get a license, and we'll make sure a couple people of color get them. But for the most part, it's gonna be white guys.
But yeah, like even over here, it's the same thing. It's because it was people who had access to the industry of medical marijuana before legalization, so they had the primitive accumulation of being able to have that space, and then when legalization hit, they were already set to be able to just fucking expand even more.
Well, yeah, and I know Canada was ahead of us for a while doing that, and no offense, but a lot of them came south to our industry, and you'd see some Canadians showing up, and it was my partner and I would just look at each other like, the fucking snow honkies are here.
Hey, no offense taken, trust me. I'm pretty much a snow honky for like half the year, so.
Hey, it's just it was that, and then Colorado came on, and then it was the Colorado snow honkies. But and that's a lot of why the industry is the way it is, because it was who started the first few legal operations, basically started a little monopoly on it, and then it was more like who they blessed into it that was more likely to get on board, except for the few token people that they basically allowed, which a lot of times it wasn't based on how competent you were or if you knew anything. It might be, well, you may not be part of the in group, but you have the right friend group, or especially that is a very openly corrupt state. There's definitely an old boy network that if you don't respect it and follow it, you don't get to play.
Is the mob still like, how effective is the mob still? How present, let's say, is the mob still in life of
I'm going to
Las
say
Vegas?
close to none at all, and that's actually a little bit of a myth. The mob wasn't really the real power in Vegas. They had some, but it was actually the Mormons that really built and ran Vegas.
I hear you.
Much like they sell caffeinated soda that they don't want their followers to drink. They've always been really good at trafficking in vices that their members of their church don't engage in.
And the mafia
But
are
yeah,
good. The mafia would be good partners for them because they're both white supremacist organizations.
yeah, I'm gonna say the mafia is probably a little bit better. They're a little bit more open-minded. I'm not gonna say all the way, but I've at
Uh,
least had some dealings with crime families when I was back east doing questionable behaviors, and I'll at least say that a lot of them were a lot more forward thinking than a lot of other white supremacist people. I'll at least give credit where it's due. They would at least respect different ethnic groups. They may not have always been the most tolerant, but
yeah, see, like that's where it's different. That's
it's not like they're the police or something.
Oh fuck, dude. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, here in Montreal, it's still very like they still have like a colonial mentality because the Italian mafia, white, obviously white Europeans, they're here. They had power for a very long time, and what happens now is that they'll use like they'll end up more using the black or Latino gangs as like cannon fodder and like you know what I mean. So there is still
Yeah,
that air of dominance over them. You know what I mean. But yeah,
yeah,
they do work together, like crime syndicates of the Haitian crime syndicates and all that. Yes, they do work together. But yeah,
yeah. And those power structures are basically directly built by the state.
yeah,
Because when you make something illegal, you're empowering somebody who's willing to take that risk
of
to
course,
create this money and this power. So it's they're dependent on a state existing, which has been why organized crime in the past has been used to basically break anarchists
of
and other
course,
different
yes,
leftist initiatives because
absolutely.
we're going to remove the power that because they're usually in bed with law enforcement to a degree.
It's
Like
essentially
they're
what we call fascism.
yeah, they're basically brown shirts with more fancy
Yeah,
looking shirts
no,
and
that's it.
better shoes.
And they have fucking resources because they have been able to be absorbed into the state due to their whiteness. Because
Yeah, and
a lot of at the like the mafia has done transitions into legitimate business, has been getting into legitimate business for the longest fucking time. They're just completely absorbed by the state. They are a part of it, I would even say, in many
yeah,
ways.
well, and it's one of the sad things about it is a lot of organized crime is its roots lie in immigrant communities that are ostracized,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
people having to come together. It's like the story of, say, the Latin Kings in Chicago. Um, they started as a community protection organization because police coming into their community meant somebody was going to be harmed either
Yeah.
through incarceration or just straight murdered.
Hmm.
So they started policing their own communities, but with that came it's like, well, we'll only tolerate you if you're creating a certain kind of power dynamic that still keeps
Yes.
the main power dynamic going.
Yeah.
Italian immigrants here in the U.S. I had to catch myself. I almost heard my grandfather coming at me saying "Italian," but
Oh
um,
no, no,
well,
Italian.
he was an old Irish immigrant, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah, for
and of
sure.
course part of the narrative is that you pit different groups against each other, and
Hmm.
I got to see him play it out. He would always talk about the Italians, and it's like, well, wait a second. About 100 years before that, they were saying the same thing about those damned Irish.
For sure, for
Um,
sure.
and if you really look at the Irish in America, you see a really ugly story where a group of people that weren't considered white, that were colonized in their own homeland, were almost given privilege as a way to spite black people and to
Yeah.
almost push them further down like the social ladder, and that basically the acceptance of the Irish only happened as a way to screw the black African slaves and the like melanated indigenous people that were pre-existing,
Hmm.
that were basically under that carceral slavery. And it's a shame that that's where their organized crime grew. It's just where they turned into being more organized criminals and becoming police and mayors and all of that.
Yeah,
And then as they kind of ascended, the Italians came in behind them and then did the same thing. You had the
for
Jewish
sure.
mafia that
Of
they
course.
had to protect themselves, but then
Russian.
yeah, that's one thing. I've dealt with Russian mob a little bit. They are not as likely to get entrenched with local governments here
Well,
they
it makes
may have
sense. It makes
support
sense.
back home, but yeah, they are somewhat adversarial to like the U.S. At least in the ones I've dealt with in the past.
Yeah, but they're
Which,
still absorbed by the Russian state, and you can even tell because like
oh, yeah, no,
yeah,
very much so. Yeah, they're very much in league with them, which
yeah.
is definitely an issue.
But it's an
As
issue.
much
It's
as
an
I love,
issue there as it's an issue here. It's an issue there as it's an issue here.
oh yeah, as much as I love their taste in Kalashnikovs, baklavas, and tracksuits, yeah, there's a lot of problematic stuff going on.
Well, yeah, definitely. We can analyze any specific country in that way, but for me, I find it almost kind of useless because we know the problems of Russia. Like they're pretty flat and forward in terms of like LGBT issues and feminism and all this kind of stuff. But I'll just stop there because A, I don't know enough about Russian society. B, I'm fucking ripped at this point. So
Actually, great place to a great entry point on kind of learning about modern Russian societies. I don't know if you're familiar with Moscow Death Brigade, but
yeah, of
they
course.
do, yeah, great band, a lot of great music, but they're involved in a lot of great activism. If you
Yeah,
really kind of look into what they're involved with, because they're dealing a lot with, they've got their little No Means No initiative, trying to like empower females. They're, you know, they've got people that are doing like anti-fascist activism,
yeah.
LGBTQ plus, positive activism, working with like refugee positive organizations and stuff like that.
Baklava. You said baklava instead of balaclava. I don't know.
You know what? One of my favorite streamers, Ugopnik, says the same thing, so I'm gonna stick with it.
Nice. I fucking love you, Gopnik, bro.
Yeah, but
Damn.
hey, look, baklava, no matter which kind you're talking about, they're both for the mouth.
That's it. That's true. Hey, dude, next time we do a little stream like this, we should do like a Ugopnik watching party or something. Next time he releases a video, we'll just watch it on stream or some shit.
Oh yeah, hey him. I'm a huge fan. I like Hakeem, Paul Morin.
Yeah,
As much
Hakeem
as
is
I'm
good.
not a
Paul Morris.
Marxist-Leninist, I like a lot of Marxist-Leninists.
No, but that's the thing. Like, I think that's fine. People, principled Marxist Leninists could be like, no, I'm not an anarchist for whatever reason, but they can be willing to converse and talk about these kinds of things because at the end of the day, these are two strains who have existed pretty much since their birth together and they will die together. So it's
Yeah,
something, it's a dialectic that we need to be engaging in. We can't shy away from it. And I
yeah,
learn a lot
they're
from
both.
Marxists. I learn a lot
Yeah,
from Marxist Leninists. I learn a lot from Maoists. I learn a lot from, you know what I mean?
and I'm the first one to say Mao had some amazing ideas about landlords.
Oh, definitely.
I still kind of want to just open a bank account and get like some Mao checks just to pay my rent with. Just
Yeah.
every month, just let them know it's like
Just be
someday,
like,
motherfucker,
here,
someday.
have a good one.
Yeah, and I mean, basically Marxists, like, different strains of Marxist communism and anarchism, they're both children of the Paris Commune in a way. Like that's really where a lot of those ideas were coalesced first.
Yeah,
First,
yeah,
I think,
and the critiques as well, obviously, because there are valid critiques of liberalism, what we know as liberalism, and like laissez-faire like laissez-faire type of market type structure, and like in my individual freedom to be able to rule over you and then keep sucking the wealth. That's my individual freedom. I should be able to do that because individual freedom is paramount. It's larger than fucking the collective good. You know what I mean?
well, and when you go that route, you always have to remember that if you're hoarding wealth, it's someone else's individual freedom to build a guillotine.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so if that's the paradigm you want to operate in, right on. But there
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
consequences.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Like the guillotine, yes, yes, yes. But yeah, it's the liberal principles that came out of the French Revolution after, and of course they need to be updated. Everything needs to be updated. We need to continually move forward. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Like I'm a huge fan of Kropotkin, but some of the ideas that he's put down, it's like we have to modernize and bring them forward. That's a huge reason I'm a fan of like Professor Richard Wolff, because
Hmm.
he kind of put a more modern application on a lot of Marxist theory, because where things aren't as agrarian as they were when a lot of
Yeah, for
these
sure.
texts were written. Like
Yeah,
we're in a more post-industrial world,
that's right.
which probably seems like a completely alien setup to the people who wrote that. And it's what on my path to anarcho-Bidenism. I'm sorry, yeah, obviously I'm being silly, but on my path to yeah, I'm no anarcho-Bidenist, but in my own anarchism, it's you kind of learn. It's like those were some great ideas, and that's our foundation, but it's also our history. We have to move up to meet the material conditions we're in. That's why, regardless of what you believe, you should at least get into dialectical dialectical materialism,
Yeah,
and learn how to kind of look at things with that worldview, because it really a lot of times it really is as simple as just get out of your own comfort zone, get out of your own shoes,
hmm,
and try to look at something a little bit differently.
yeah.
Even if you may not agree everything else attached to that theory, there's going to be some good stuff that's going to grow you. And if it challenges what you believe, it gives you an excuse to either make sure what you believe is correct
Yeah,
or go to something, that is more correct.
that's
And
it. And
just,
people, yeah, people really need to sit in that space where something is confronting them, something opposing to them. People need to be able to sit in that space and find calm. Because once we find calm in that space, we can say, oh, okay, now I can objectively as possible, look at something and take what I think is good and leave what I think is bad behind, or to completely say, dude, this idea is incorrect. You know what I mean? But people, they don't know how to sit with any kind of conflict. People just have problems with conflict management in general. People seek to create a world that will be free of conflict, but this can never exist. We need to manage conflict.
yeah, it's something that, well, I mean, our reaction to conflict is what makes us supposedly different from lower order animals. We still have the same DNA and brains as the rest of the animal kingdom. And if, a lot of people think as a human being we're somehow better or more evolved because of who we are. If we are, to live up to that really means being able to get over those animalistic urges to find conflict with someone that's just superficially different.
Yeah,
If you're a simple animal like a sponge, yeah, if you're a red sponge, of course you're going to go after a yellow sponge.
for sure.
You're not developed enough to know different. But if we're better than that, that's a big part of that
Yeah.
is transcending that kind of just conflict-based lifestyle, because
Even
cooperation.
other animals, I look at their material conditions instead of saying we are better and separate from them. Yes, of course, their brains have not been allowed to develop as much as ours because they have to deal with the very primal reality of their material conditions, no doubt. You know what I mean?
A lot of it too is just arrogance and our inability to directly
Yeah,
communicate with them how we communicate with
yeah,
ourselves.
exactly.
Um, because I mean, you can look at there's actually, I saw an amazing little study and ended up reading through it just on how tomato plants communicate throughout
Yes,
themselves,
it's
and it's like,
crazy.
there's deep communication that we're just ignorant to. So there's an arrogance to a lot of us, just hey, we can verbally speak, so we're better. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, there's a lot going on that maybe we've lost the ability to sense it, maybe we've never developed it, but there's stuff there that just because we don't know it's not there doesn't mean that it isn't. And it's
Dude,
we're
even stuff that's just 100% visible and tangible. Dude, the way that dolphins and whales talk to each other with different calls and different clicks that are unique to different pods. It's not even just the species as a whole. This is like unique language, we can even say, that's going on. So these are things that are tangible. Imagine the things that are not tangible, just as you said, you know?
most definitely.
It's crazy. Fuck. I fucking love animals, bro. Animals are fucking, dude, they're just. And I'm not even talking like on like let's just forget veganism for a second. I'm not trying to make a moralistic claim on like what people eat. I'm just trying to say animals, just interacting with them, being with them. There have been many times I've went to like a farm sanctuary and just being with them, and seeing the interspecies play, like the relationships is fantastic. I love it.
Oh, most definitely. Well, I mean, like I had mentioned earlier, I'm a little bit of a crazy cat lady myself. Um,
Yeah.
we've got we've got four rescue cats and a rescue dog.
Fuck yeah,
And the
man.
one thing that's absolutely beautiful is our dog has been, we socialized her really well, and then she got attacked by another dog and then about a month later got attacked by another one, and ever since she's just been very dog aggressive, which she's
Shit.
100 pound like Saint Bernard pit bull mix, which she
Okay.
goes after another dog, it's going to be a problem.
For sure.
Um, so we can't really ever have her around other dogs. But man, she absolutely loves cats.
Hmm.
Which she like. We have cats that crawl all over. They all sniff at each other. When we take her on walks and she encounters just strays and ferals outside, she's actually chased the cat. Like she'll chase a cat and she will pin it down, but she'll just
Yeah.
take her nose, sniff very aggressively, and then just kind of go on her way, leaving a very confused looking cat behind.
What
Um,
a behavior.
but yeah, she's the most cat happy dog in it like I've ever met, and it's really awesome to see that because at least she gets to interact with other animals. She
Yeah.
gets to have her little pack hierarchy that a lot of dogs do seem to be happier with because we
Yeah.
can't have another dog for her. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
having that energy in the house is like it's a little invigorating. It will pick you up on days that you're not doing so great. Like it's great for your mental health. Having a cat purr on you is
Yeah.
like, man, it's healing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We're currently trying to introduce our dog to two little kittens now. The little kittens have been growing up, and she's used to them. Everything's good. These fucking kittens are adorable, man. It's awesome. I love living with animals. It's crazy, but
Uh,
at the same time, like my dog is so fucking affectionate that it can become like super annoying because I'm a very
yeah,
like not affectionate, cuddly person generally.
yeah. I'm actually grateful while we've been on this stream. Mine hasn't been. She's very pushy with her affection. Um,
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, she's not like a frat boy, but she's close.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, she will climb you, lick you. I get hit in the goodies just about every day coming through the door because she's enthusiastic and great big paws coming in all the wrong places.
yeah.
But at the same time, like there's another creature not excited to see you. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Fuck, for sure, for sure. But yeah, Sensi, I'm getting a little bit tired. I'm running up on an hour and 46 minutes, dude. Me, I want
Oh,
to go
geez
eat
Louise.
something and shit. But fuck, I hope you're down to do this again because I'm down.
Yeah, well, obviously, you can. I like talking, so I don't
No,
get
I
out much,
hear you.
so I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I hear you. We can do this. Like I told you, I'm even down to watch like some Ugopnik shit, dude. It was really awesome to talk to you, and I'm gonna talk to my partner. Maybe one day we'll see. Come down to Nevada, I'll visit you or something. Fuck.
Yeah, we don't have the fanciest pigs, but you've
No,
always got a place here, and I cooked professionally for years, so the best meal you may get in town could be here. I know I'm not great about it all the time, but shit, when we have company, it's always fire something up, and I can accommodate just about any dietary need. I know I was actually vegan for quite a few years myself before
nice
my health kind of went south on it, which that's one thing that's kind of unfortunate is we all have a different physiology with
for
different
sure.
needs, which it's more about sometimes it has to just be more about being sensible.
Yeah.
Don't have to eat something dead every day. And I'm also a big fan of guy I follow. He actually founded a cannabis extraction group called the Good Life Gang, but he's very big on regenerative farming, and he has a cattle farm that's actually very much carbon neutral, where different techniques of that kind of farming can actually be a benefit because when you're not doing it in an industrial setting, you can sequester tremendous amounts of carbon into the soil through cattle farming, but you have to do it in such a way that there isn't a lot of profit to it, which is why the
Yeah, that's
cattle
it.
industry right now is such a monstrosity. But
Yeah,
his
like
name's
doing.
yeah, his Future 4200. But
Mhm.
he actually has a lot of great content about how his like he's got the actual data on what his doing to actually fire cattle farm.
Wait, wait. I kind
How
of lost your audio a bit.
you
Talk
look
to.
at people like
Hey, your audio's cutting a bit, comrade.
how they're done commercial.
Wait, wait, wait. Can you hear me?
But that's a completely different side conversation for another time. But yeah, Shit, I forget what I was talking. It's the weed.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Yeah, we're breaking up. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Did we get cut off?
Yeah, we kind of. Well, can you hear me?
Did we
Hello.
just overrun on time?
No, 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 no. There's
No,
no
I've been
time.
yakking a while.
Hello. Hello.
No.
Hello. Can you hear me? No. Okay, you can hear both of us, but I don't think SensiSnax can hear me.
What happened to the sound?
I hear you, SensiSnax. Everything's
I don't
okay
know
on.
what happened. Shit.
I'm confused because everything's okay on this end. It's the fucking CIA. It's the fucking CIA. Eh?
Man, what? The fucking feds finally come and shut us down? Jesus Christ.
That's it. It's the fucking feds, bro. Oh my god. It's just internet lagging. Can you hear me, SensiSnax? It's a hard lag. Holy fuck.
Man,
I see you. Can you hear me?
I don't know what happened.
You still can't hear me.
Smoke a bowl on it, I guess.
Yeah, same here, I guess.
Um,
Should I like
is it the internet lagging? Well, I
so
don't know if anybody can hear me. I can't
I
hear
hear
anything,
you.
but
You.
oh,
Hear you, but you cannot hear him.
Oh,
well, wait. Let me.
hello. I hear you.
Hey, there he is. Oh,
Did you get a match?
Hello, hello.
sorta. Well, wait. Oh no, I was hitting the TV, but that's lagging a little bit.
Shit.
Hitting the TV, but that's lagging a little bit. Yeah, I'm hearing myself from 2 seconds ago.
You just can't hear me. I don't know what's wrong here. One sec.
Yep. Joey's speaking the truth. Definitely the Fed. Oh, solidarity, brother.
Hello,
Joey
hello.
702 is one of the main movers behind the Food Not Bombs group, who's getting these tiny homes built, and somebody who's actually out there improving his community instead of just talking about it.
So you still can't hear me?
I can't hear a damn thing, and that's not just me being half deaf. That's
But
technical difficulties.
can Trixie hear me?
He can hear you.
Yeah, it's just me then.
All right, all right. Well, but
Oh.
dude, SensiSnax.
Wait, I can kind of hear because I can hear it on your phone.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what we'll do. Like, yeah.
Hey,
Dude,
there we go.
yeah,
No,
nice.
you came back.
Should I just stay here?
Well, no, I plugged in my headphones and unplugged them,
Damn.
and all of a sudden, all right, so my phone's just being a piece of shit. Right on.
I was like,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
what the fuck?
Oh, good times.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But it definitely was the feds. I'm not fucking taking that one back. Haha. Everybody say hi to the CIA. What's up, CSIS? That's our CIA here in Canada.
And well, I always figure it's either the CIA, the FBI, the DEA, ATF. One of them's coming.
Sooner or later, I guess. Yeah. But
Hey, the one
fuck.
I'm worried. What's up?
No. What were you saying? What was that last thing you had said? Fuck yeah, because you were like talking and it was going and then I was like trying to like then I was all everything fucked up.
Oh man, that train of thought completely derailed.
Okay. All right, my bad.
No, my bad entirely, man.
It's all good. But yeah, so fuck like don't understand the FDA or don't underestimate the FDA.
The FDA? Oh no, they're sons of bitches too.
Oh yeah, we were talking about fucking Nevada. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it may be a possibility. I was like, honestly, I was like let's figure out what we do, because I have never even spoke to this SensiSnax person yet, and I'm like, I would like to have a conversation with this fucking person, like face to face. You know what I mean? And like, nah, dude, it was super fun. Yeah, it was super dope, dude. Like, it was sick. I think we had some really good conversations. I'm certainly gonna make clips out of this video. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, please do. I'm a whore for a little bit of attention. I mean, I could lie to you otherwise, but that's the truth of the matter. Hey, and
But
if you ever visit, make sure you come out and stay over for a Friday. Come do a little practice with the group.
yeah, yeah,
Get
yeah,
out, rub shoulders with some, international anarchists. Really, I mean, hey, it's a border, right?
yeah. That's it. No, no, no.
Hey,
Yeah, I'd be for sure. If I come, it would be for that reason. It would be to come,
hey,
chill, like do a little bit of action.
we'd be able to say, hey, international anarchist superstar, the obnoxious
That's
anarchist.
right. Hey, fuck. I did. I don't know. I did a protest in Iceland. I was in Iceland, and a protest randomly we came our way, so we joined it because it was like against a deportation or something like that. But
Oh,
yeah,
right on.
yeah, a bunch of shit, a bunch of shit. But yeah, I'm gonna go because I want to eat something. My stomach is not agreeing with me right now.
All right on. Ooh, one of our animals
Kitty,
finally showed up.
kitty.
One of our sweetest cats, Genghis.
She's so cute.
You're on TV. It's like just like people. I am pleasantly surprised though they haven't come and tried to like disrupt anything for this
Yeah, they
entire
haven't
time.
they haven't been bugging you.
No, I can only imagine that Tracy's been busy keeping them at bay and not from being a
Ha
hassle.
ha ha! I see, I see. Yeah, no, I've locked myself in the room. There's no animals bugging me at this point.
Yeah, I'm just out in the open. There could be any kind of animal craziness at any time.
Nice. If you come to Vegas, yeah, come to a build Friday. Yeah, for sure. Me, I come. It's to lend my hands. I've done that tourism bullshit, and like, it's not for me, dude.
Yeah, come out, do a build. We'll talk to some of the other members. We can make a little trip out to the shooting range. We got a great group of folks. That's a fun time in its own right because that's really just and it's nice just to kind of bond with people that you
For
do that
sure.
kind of work with on a completely different level. So it's like, yeah, it builds something a little bit deeper. I was blessed. I just had a birthday a few weeks ago, and for my birthday, it's like, well, I'm gonna do what I kind of really want to do, which is, I got to spend some of the morning with Tracy, went out, did a build, and then a bunch of the people from the group, well, surprised me with some delicious cake, actually at Taco Terrian,
Mm,
little vegan coconut cake that was chef's kiss delicious. And then we
nice.
ended up out in the desert shooting for a few hours. It ran a little bit later than planned, but you're out there having fun. Somebody brought out some tannerite. It's the exploding target. And just a whole bunch of anarchists with like AR-15s and AK-47s and handguns. And
Damn,
the
dude.
one guy actually had like a pneumatic like potato gun and a fully automatic like BB gun, like all kinds of just. We had a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, for sure. This was in the desert, you said?
Yeah, we have ranges out here, but they're kind of square in how they allow you to shoot. But
Okay.
we have multiple BLM sites, Bureau of Land Management, um, where you have
Wait,
areas
wait,
where
wait.
you can just
Sensi,
go.
Sensi, Sensi, give me 1 second. Give me
Oh,
one
sure,
second.
sure.
Hold that thought. 1 second.
Mr. Chad, what you doing? That's a fun string of emojis from Shelly right there. Yeah.
Hola, señor. Fuck, yeah, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, still
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, because that's it. My partner was doing a consult online, so I think that's why the internet had fucked up, but it's good now.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, can't forget we have mannequins we take out to shoot too. Joey,
Oh,
one of the
nice.
members who goes out with us, reminding me. He actually caught a wonderfully unfortunate picture of me holding one, and the mannequin was kind of cupping me a little bit inappropriately that I didn't even know about. Made for a lovely picture.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's kind of the magic though when you get out with like your comrades too. Is you have those cool little moments that really can live as like better memories than that'll do you a lot more in life than anything you could ever buy.
Yeah, and that's the whole like that really is the optimism of the resistance that I really want to push forward here, because there is a pessimism, there is depression, there is all this shit that we need to stand up and fight against on a daily basis. This is our material conditions, it's our reality. But at the same time, like, there are these avenues where we can go, where we can have happiness, we can have joy, we can have like a communal togetherness, and that's what builds community organizing more than anything, you know. And
Yeah, well,
COVID really
yeah,
had
the
a hit on
community
that.
aspect.
Yeah, the
Oh,
community aspect. Yeah.
I see in the comments somebody asking, if we ever went to a range and found fascist training. The closest I've come at anarchism yet, sorta, because I go out shooting with the people I work with as well, and I'm the closest thing we have to a white person at that job. Everybody else is like black, Spanish, or Asian, and so when we go out, it's it's definitely not a white crowd. And we went to a spot in the desert where we were setting up shooting, and we definitely had some people that were unhappy about the demographics of people they saw, and they definitely looked unhappy about seeing a bunch of armed black people, which honestly delighted me to no end. But this is the reason I like to leave the shot up like KKK member targets, because it's kind of a let them know that they don't have they're not the only ones out there who are armed. We're ready to protect ourselves, and that's one of the great things about going shooting with the people I work with, because they're always great about bringing people that have never shot, and there's an empowerment to, if you feel like you're kind of at risk for being attacked or somehow brought like come upon by some of these people, to know that you possess the ability to handle a firearm. It's like, well, maybe I can get a gun, and at least it's, if God forbid you need it, you know how to use it, and that you are capable of it. It's not something to be scared of. It's something that with some time, some training, and it's not even that much time. It's the quality of your training can get you to a place where you're at least able to protect yourself in those situations pretty quickly. There's actually some great resources on Instagram, even Yellow Peril Tactical, Kalashnikoving, Strapped Up TV, are people of color that are really pushing like a self-defense narrative for basically marginalized communities, which I think is something we need to see more of, especially if you subscribe to Marxist theory. The whole under no pretext should arms and
Hmm.
ammunition never be surrendered. Any attempts to disarm the working class should be met with force if necessary, is something I kind of take to heart. As a lot of gun people are really big on the Second Amendment, and I'm not really a believer, because a right is something given you by someone else that can be taken away,
Hmm.
and it's been you know weaponized against people of color in this country from the start. As a member of the working class, it's my duty to arm myself, and once I'm sufficiently armed, it's my duty to go out and help other people arm themselves, to make sure the working class as a whole, across all different like ethnic, racial, gender, all the different like divisions, that anybody who's of the proletariat, of the working class, anybody who's basically not in the rich ruling class should be armed. And it's something that if we work with each other, it's something we can use to protect ourselves from the oppression we get from above, which is a step towards creating a world where we can maybe fix the material conditions that create situations where people
For
even
sure.
need to be armed.
And it's as Biden says, unfortunately, that no matter how many guns we have, we will never be able to surpass the power of the state. But that is not necessarily the point. Just because they could
No,
bomb us and shit like that, what I'm trying to say here is that even if that were to be the case, the difference I see between a fucking trans person who's being assaulted in the streets who doesn't have a gun and who does have a gun, that's where the differences really stand for me. You can arm yourself, you can protect yourself, and as communities, we can protect each other, of course.
as much as Biden wants to say that, there's actually a whole bunch of Vietnamese rice farmers that had one of the worst semi-automatic rifles designed that really would have a lot to say about that. Because they
Yeah,
sure
but I
did a
mean,
fine
at this
job of
point,
kicking the U.S. government out of their country.
at this point, the way war is, dude, the United States, dude, at this point, they're gonna have nukes on drones, no problem. So any of that kind of resistance in this would just
Yeah,
be destroyed.
I don't see them dropping nukes on this country because there's still way too much to extract for value.
Maybe not nukes, but like, but definitely, like if ever there was like a really strong proletarian armed organization popping up, I wouldn't rule out bombings by the state. I would not rule it out. They've already done it. They did it to the move people in Philadelphia, and I think that was in Philly. Was it in
Yeah,
Philly?
that was definitely. I actually watched that go down on the news as a very young child.
You know what I mean? So shit like that, dude. They can bare their teeth like that. No
Right,
problem.
but and I hate going back to the same well, but you can look at the struggle for Irish independence or Indian nationalism,
Oh yeah, yeah,
where these were people that were definitely not as well armed as their oppressors,
yeah,
and
for sure.
even though neither group really fully achieved their complete liberation, they've gotten a lot closer to it. And it took being like it was definitely an asymmetrical conflict in both accounts. And the less numerous, less well armed group was able to get the victories they did because one, when you're fighting on the side of right, there's just a different motivation, especially when you're fighting for your home, for your life, for your own freedom, for the liberation of your neighbors. It's different than just going out and following orders because you're part of an apparatus that's meant to oppress people. That idealism can really it creates physiological changes in you when you're in those sides of thought patterns where your hormones and brain chemistry are
Yeah,
going to be firing in a way that's very much lined up to that, and it's going to give you an advantage. And smart tactics, and like being more mindful of your use of resources, and also when you
yeah,
come from a place of compassion, it's a lot easier to disarm your enemy as well because like a lot of friends of mine are veterans, and I'm not one to
yeah.
look down on people that join the military because there's a
Same.
huge number of reasons why people do. A lot of people are lied to. A lot of people really just want college. A lot
I
of
almost joined. I was 16. I almost joined myself for those reasons
yeah,
exactly. Free education specifically.
yeah. I had a number of friends that got out of high school and just didn't know what they were going to do with their lives, and said, "Well, that's an option."
Hmm.
Some of them didn't come back from overseas. Some of them came back broken and terrible physical condition. Their mental
Fuck.
state broken. And when to be a good leftist, having compassion for veterans to me seems very integral because these are people that were used by the system, weaponized against other people by the system, and then basically thrown away and ignored by the system because one thing, either working with the mentally ill here in Las Vegas and working with the homeless, you see an awful lot of like veterans that they're hurting. And
For
it's like
sure.
if the government asked the absolute maximum of you that you could provide, and then you came back and they just kicked you to the street like you weren't worth nothing to them, and
Hmm.
that's incredibly heartbreaking. But that's some place that our compassion needs to be, because regardless of how you feel about how our military is used, the way these human beings are used and treated is something that we need to also take to heart. This is a criminal act that our government's putting out there. And, there's a lot of leftist vets that come out of their service. And these are also people that these are people that we need to have involved in our, affinity groups, in our communities, because their time in the military, they learn a lot of useful
For
stuff,
sure.
and not just, warfare stuff, but, setting a lot of the logistical stuff, setting things up. We have a few, I want to say at least two naval vets in our Food Not Bombs group. And these are two of the people I know that go the hardest. Even when they're not with the group doing group activities, they're still in their daily life hey, I took that oath I took seriously, and protecting the people of this country means making sure that my unhoused neighbors have something to eat. I've got two friends going down to the tunnels under Las Vegas that right now they're very prone to flash floods, and they're checking up on people, making sure they have supplies, making sure that if the flash floods hit, they're not drowning in these tunnels under the strip, but that they're going to be safe and able to get,
Out.
someplace. So it's, that to me I see as like an oft overlooked, very important aspect
Look,
of our activism that needs to be, I think, addressed
yeah,
as well as all the other million things that are wrong that we have to work towards writing.
for
We
sure.
have a long list, but hey, it's kind of, anarchists are kind of like Santa Claus. We've got a big list, but we're going to get through it.
Yeah, but that's it. It's it's a good way to look forward to the projects. You can say that these are lifetime projects that are gonna go way past our own lifetimes and shit like that. But they're projects nonetheless. But here,
Yeah.
Specky V asks thoughts on the veterans who have YouTube channels shilling for the military and the labor aristocrats.
Well, I mean, the military's always been very open about what they do to people's indoctrination. A lot of people don't shake that off. There's a culture in the military that is very much right-wing leaning. I don't know if you know Step Back History. If you watch his content, he's actually got a wonderful series of videos about basically the military to right-wing white supremacy pipeline that basically started around the Korean and Vietnamese War, where you have white supremacist organizations actually sending people to the military to learn, warfare tactics, sometimes to try to backdoor weapons and stuff like that. So that's going to be an issue, and it's fairly well known the U.S. military is also a place that a lot of criminal organizations send people to get certain skill sets, see if they can get some weapons out, and start. It's a training, much like the School of the Americas trains dictators for the global South. Our own domestic military trains a lot of people that are in violent organizations domestically,
Hmm.
and people know it. Hey, it's a free education on how to kill the maximum amount of people.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's easy to see that there's people still stuck in that. But at the same time, you have a lot of leftist vets as well. I've known a wonderful amount of U.S. Marines that are some of the most racially open-minded people I've met. Like people that have better takes than your average, white leftists as far as racial issues. A friend of mine that I spoke of earlier, he's a marijuana seed breeder. He lives in the South. He's from West Virginia. He lives in North Carolina, and he lives near an army base, and occasionally it's he gets into a fight just because somebody's saying something ignorant, racially ignorant, and he's one that hey, that's what I was taught in the Marines. He's attacking an American, and the way a lot of them describe it is, I've had a black man willing to die for me more than a lot of these white crackers back home ever would. So their mentality is more, they're more likely to look at somebody really on the content of who they are, and they have to get over the racial divides to successfully operate. So you do have a really weird dichotomy within the veteran community on that.
Hmm. All right. I guess we can just say here. Look, if anybody has any fucking couple of final questions, I think we could do that. You know what I mean? Check it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
Oh, no, no, no,
Yapping.
no. Look. It's not about taking too much of my time. It's just, I mean, I want to go eat and stuff like that. And I know for a fact that we're gonna be talking in the future. So like,
Oh, most definitely. I know I've got to worry about food too. I probably got to get to work in the kitchen soon
that's
myself.
it. That's it. Fuck. Cause like honestly, I could like smoke and like I could suppress my appetite the more I smoke. Cause but at some point, dude, like it just fucks with my stomach so much that I need to eat something, and I haven't eaten yet, so I'm kind of
You know,
hungry.
it's funny. Actually, fighting the munchies helped me lose a good amount of weight when I really got into smoking weed regularly. It burns a lot of your blood sugar off, which can also be a problem if you're not, you know, have too
Eating
much.
properly, yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not eating properly. That's something I need to change personally in my own life. You know what I mean? For sure, for sure. That and
You're
just
not
being
alone.
being more active than just those fucking factory movements that I do. Fuck at work. You know what I mean? More active than that.
Yeah, that's just going to end up giving you carpal tunnel and a bad back in time.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But luckily enough, we have at least enough of diversity of tactics, and we can change and switch anytime. Not diversity of tactics of tasks. So at least it's not too bad, but it's still pretty shitty.
You know, two of the you're familiar with Euclid today, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, Ray of Today and Porcel both do online free yoga classes.
Oh
They
yeah,
both.
I,
So
I
I
would have
mean,
to
you need
check
to
it
get a
out.
little active. You know, it's pop on some Euclid Today. Go. I prefer Porcel's classes a little bit more, but
Uh-huh.
you know that's always an option. You can do it at home. You
Yeah,
just
I
need
hear you. I hear you.
somewhere space.
For sure, for sure. Just to get a little bit more active. Okay, let's check. I think we have some comments here. Or we could just read a couple more comments. And I've known a guy, Canadian, who wants to join the US Marines. He seems to have an adventurous mindset. Yeah.
Sounds like it, although I always hate that term adventurous because a lot of times it's levied against
Yeah, a
people
lot
that
of
are willing to
times.
engage in direct action as a way to like diminish what they're doing. But
Yeah.
I
But
think
yeah,
that's
definitely.
definitely the correct application for it there.
But that's it. But and I think that what I would call adventurous is just those misplaced or incorrect actions. So I'm not so much critiquing the like okay and direct action as a thing, but some direct actions are wrong, are negative. They're just incorrect. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means that now, as it happened, now it's incorrect. We got to do other things, you know.
I mean, I look back over my youth and I see some things that may have been troublesome,
Yeah.
although, you know, like I remember me and a couple of my buddies, we had our Earth Crisis shirts on. We were all hardcore straight edge vegans. And, you know, we may or may not have firebombed like a first store or a couple Burger Kings being built.
In
And, you know, maybe
Minecraft.
it wasn't the most helpful, but at the same time, you know, you're stymieing the progress and the profit of these industries that really exist on suffering.
Yeah, but
I'm never
barely
one
these
to
days. With the insurance companies, it's barely these days. Me, I would say that property damage and stuff like that, it tends to just be more symbolic. Uh, you're trying to like connect somebody to the idea, to the reasons as to why that symbolic thing is happening. Because dude, insurance companies, bro, no problem, no
exactly, but the
problem.
more we do it, the more normalized
Oh
it
yeah, yeah.
gets.
Yeah, but that hopefully that's it. We have to try to build the movement through that way, but then you also have a large group of people who are like look at those types of actions as just negative and useless and shit like that. So we also have to
Oh
contend
yeah,
with that part
liberals.
of the mirror. Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, because I know
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I've been called an adventurous for being an active shark. Like,
yeah, yeah.
well, but you know, like there were literal neo-Nazi skinheads harassing people, and yeah, I put the boots to a few. It's like, oh, you're just an adventurous. Like, no, I'm somebody who, you know, I'm 6'5". Me thin is like 255. You
Hmm.
know, I was endowed with physical gifts that make me more able to help people that can't help themselves.
Yeah.
And the way I was raised is when you have those gifts, that's why
Use
you
them
have
for
to
sure.
help somebody that can't, you know, handle themselves as much, to be someone that stands up against that kind of threat.
Hmm.
And when you don't meet those kinds of threats with like equal or greater force, that lets them think that they're okay, and they
Yeah.
start to grow and fester and gain more power. And you know, I look at the way like a lot of these fascist movements are today, and I almost feel a sense of responsibility. Like, man, we should have gone harder in the 90s because now the Proud Boys are out there feeling okay and safe on the
Yeah,
street. They're
but dude,
escaping
it
from,
for sure it should have been anti-fascism. We always wanted to be more popular, not more popular in a vain sense, more popular because we want our ideas
more
to
populist.
be, yeah, more populist. 100%. Fuck. So
And
yeah, we're trying.
and for me, part of it, I think, is family tradition. My grandfather was one of those Antifa SJWs. He was virtue signaling all over that beach in Normandy when they were
Yeah,
off to fight the Fash. Um, I'm sorry, that's a stolen joke from Three Arrows. I always love that they talk
that's okay.
his take
That's okay.
his take on the Normandy landing. Oh, look at these anti-fascist SJWs just virtue signaling, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just American soldiers killing Nazis. But
yeah.
it's funny that the country that was really into fighting the Fash kind of did a 180 on it.
Yeah, because the
So
country that was supposedly trying to fight the Fash was the origin of the Fash in and of itself and wanted no competition.
yeah, very true. Same, yeah,
That's it.
same reason that police go after thieves. They
Yeah,
don't like competition either.
that's right. That's right. Unless you're, you can be absorbed. Like we said, criminal elements could be absorbed into the state. Various ways.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
One last thing I wanted to ask, fuck, just quickly, and we can go into more detail another time too. But I wanted to ask, fuck, because you said that like there's like sharps that are active in Las Vegas and shit. But what about Rash? Is Rash at all?
Well, I don't really know of any active, like my time being very active as a sharp happened in Philadelphia.
Okay,
Here
okay.
in Las Vegas, we kind of have a sad history. I don't know if you've ever heard of, there's a pair of guys, Dan and Spit. For my first day in town, I started hearing about them. They
I don't
um,
know.
they were actually, I know at least one was a sharp, but they were part of a crew here in town called NTS, the Nazi Termination Squad.
Okay,
Actually, my better half Tracy was part of that group and friends with those guys, and they
nice.
were active anti-fascists. And they were physically confronting the neo-Nazi element here in town. And these two guys got word out into the desert. It was basically a popular tactic out here. They'd find a couple of guys, kind of cut them off from the pack, and it would be like throw a couple of girls as a honeypot, like, hey, you guys want to party in the desert? And they would go, and then all of a sudden, you got 15 boneheads,
Yeah,
and they killed them in the desert. They basically got away with it. Like
yeah.
people were arrested. They went to trial. I want to say
Cops
it
and
was
clan go
roughly,
hand in hand.
they're usually one and the same.
That's
But
it.
that was because of that. There really hasn't been much of a sharp element here in town. Like I've
Okay.
known a couple of sharps that they're basically sharps on their own. Like there aren't any crews or groups. It's just I'm a skinhead. That's the kind of skinhead I am.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sharp. I'm rash. Haven't met any gash skins out here. Really haven't met very many domestically. Most of the ones I've spoken to over the years have been.
Cut off, comrade. Anyways, I can't hear SensiSnax and he's frozen at the moment. Don't tell me we're having problems again. If Trixie is still there, can you hear me? Fuck. FDA again. Oh, fuck, dude. No, we lost him. Shit. Ah, his phone died. Okay, well, we'll just clip it there. Thank you so much. Fuck, honestly, that was a great conversation. Fucking awesome. It's nice to do these little, like, a little less formal, just have a conversation, talk like that, but I am fucking exhausted. Have a good one, comrades. It's solidarity as always.